You might be an effective speaker. You might be a knowledgeable speaker. You might be a confident speaker. But are you empathetic? Does your audience genuinely feel like you're on their side, that you know what they're going through, that you know not just the facts of exactly what to do, but you know what they're feeling? You'll never truly be a great speaker unless you learn to express empathy with your audience. Hi, I'm TJ Walker. That is an opening taste of some of the stuff we'll be talking about today. This is the TJ Walker Success Channel. We're all about helping you become more successful in life by communicating more effectively and becoming more confident in your communications, and also helping you with other aspects of personal development. We had a great guest today scheduled who had to cancel, had to back out. And fortunately, we have a great backup guest right here. That is the TJ Walker clone. Now, I realize that sounds narcissistic. It sounds weird. What I have found over the last month or so of building a digital clone with everything I've ever said, everything I've ever written, is this guy's memory is a lot better than mine. This guy is much quicker than I am. And we're going to put it to the test today. So for starters, let's just ask that question. This is a question posed by Suyesh, one of my online students. Suyesh says, how to be empathetic while speaking and then making a person take action. So I'm going to call right now my digital clone, and you can access this as well right on the page. By going to delphi.ai. We'll post that in a few minutes, but if you go to delphi.ai/TJ Walker, you can access my clone. So I'm going to call again. This is the one that's specific to communications. I now have 5 different clones.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you communicate more effectively?
TJ, Suyesh has a question, and it is how to be empathetic while speaking, especially if you want to make the person you're speaking to take action. What advice do you have on how to be more empathetic as a speaker, especially when you're trying to move your audience to action?
To move your audience to action, empathy is key. Start by truly understanding their needs, concerns, and desires. When you speak, use stories and examples that resonate with their experiences. For instance, instead of saying, you need to exercise more, you might say, I know how tough it is to find time for exercise, especially when you're juggling work and family. But imagine how much more energy you'll have to enjoy those precious moments with your loved ones if you just take 20 minutes a day for yourself. Use a warm conversational tone and make eye contact if you're in person. Show that you genuinely care about their well-being. Ask questions that invite them to share their thoughts and feelings, like, how do you feel about that? This not only shows empathy, but also engages them in the conversation. Another powerful technique is to use inclusive language. Phrases like, we can achieve this together, or let's take this step forward. Create a sense of unity and shared purpose. This makes your audience feel like they are part of a collective effort, which can be very motivating. Finally, be genuine. Authenticity builds trust, and when people trust you, they are more likely to take action based on your words. Share your own experiences and vulnerabilities to show that you are just like them, facing similar challenges and striving for similar goals. Try incorporating these techniques in your next conversation or presentation. How do you think you can apply these tips to your specific situation?
So I cut off the TJ clone there. I got to tell you, I thought that was a pretty good answer. It was better than what I started off with today. Now, if you're just seeing this for the first time, this is a digital clone. It's not been trained on the entire internet. It's not been trained on Dale Carnegie books and other books on public speaking or Toastmasters websites. It has been trained exclusively on my own ideas, things I've said in online courses, things I've said in YouTube videos, things I have written about in some of my books. So it's pulling ideas essentially from my brain and reordering it to make it sound conversational. And what I'm doing here in part is trying to really figure out How do we make this meaningful to you? How do we go from making a digital clone a curiosity, something like, oh, that's cool, that's interesting, to something that is seen as perhaps as good as an online course or an online coaching program, perhaps better than that, perhaps as good as an in-person workshop, an in-person coaching relationship, or even potentially better than that? How can we make a digital cloning experience better than anything that currently exists? Because the problem with hiring me as your personal coach, and people do that sometimes. I work with them periodically for 6 months, getting ready for a big TED talk. It's quite expensive flying me to them around the world, them flying to me. It's a lot of time, their time, my time, that has to be really planned, scheduled, and blocked out. And it's very expensive. Plus, it ends, whether it's at 1 month or 6 months, there's an ending point. What if you could have a coaching experience that doesn't have any travel costs, that can be scheduled instantly with the push of a button on your end, and that doesn't have an ending point, and that is a tiny fraction of the expense? That is the goal that I have, and I think a lot of people have who are exploring this avenue of using digital clones for coaching and mentoring and tutoring and training, and really whatever you want to call it. It's about taking expertise from one place, sharing it with an individual in a way that's accessible, meaningful, personalized, one-on-one, and that can result in an actual transformation of skills and mindset to transform a life to make it better. That's really what I see as the holy grail here. It cannot simply be a cute way of answering a question. You can go to Quora and ask a question. You can go to Google and ask a question. So that's what I'm trying to figure out here today. So what I've done is taken a number of questions from students who've written to me in the last week or so. I've taken a stab at it. Then I'm going to let the AI take a stab at it. And then I'm going to take another stab at it to see if I can incorporate my own first draft, the AI's draft, and put together something different. So I'm going to do that right now with this first issue, because I got to tell you, I liked what the AI told me, TJ Clone told me. I'm going to see if I can incorporate some of this. And by the way, if you have questions that you would like either me or my digital clone to answer, all you have to do is post them. This is a free-form day. We have no guest today, no structure. It's really just about answering your questions and also trying to learn more about this interplay. How does a live human, in this case, that's the role I'm providing, interact and deal with one of these, a digital clone? What comes out of that? And then how do you combine the two to make something even better? That's the experiment for today. So let me try to do that right now with this first question that was posed, which is, how do you become a more empathetic speaker, especially when you're trying to move someone to take action? So let me try a stab at it right now. It's not enough to be correct, to give a speech without ums and ahs. It's not enough to have good hand motions or good eye contact. You've got to be truly empathetic to your audience if you want to be seen as an effective communicator and as someone who can get the audience to do what you want, whether it's buy from you, sign a contract, endorse you, vote for you. But it does raise the question, how can you really come across more empathetic? Well, part of it is you have to consistently communicate, not just at the intellectual level, but at the emotional level. You've got to let people know you realize what you're saying may sound simple. It's very simple to say, get up every morning and eat some carrots and go for a jog for 10 miles and you'll be physically fit. It's easy to say that intellectually, but if you don't connect with people emotionally and let them know, hey, I'm like you, I'd rather sit in bed, have another cup of coffee. I'd rather eat a jelly donut. How do I really get inspired to go running 10 miles today? You know what? Maybe we'll start off easy and I'll start off with just doing 5 push-ups. You've got to consistently communicate at two levels: intellectual level, emotional level. And one way of being really effective is sharing your own struggles, your own failings. Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. This clone here is not perfect, even though it's not a person. Share your weaknesses, share your own struggles, and then talk about how you tried to overcome it, maybe failed a time or two, took a step back. Then you tried a different approach. Perhaps you hit rock bottom. You tried something new, then and only then did you succeed. Let people know your own flaws, your own problems, your own struggles. And if they see how you overcame those, then you can connect with them, not just intellectually, but emotionally. They can feel like, not only do I know what to do, but I can do it, because if this person can do it, this guy, this woman can do it, I can do. That is the most effective way to really show empathy with your audience. And once they feel you care about them, they're a lot more likely to take the next action you want, whether it's buy from you, recommend from you, endorse you, approve your budget, or even hire you. Okay, so that was sort of my take on that topic. So here's what we've done. I read a question from a student. I did a first take. I then fed it to the clone. It stimulated my brain, and then I did a version. If you have an opinion on which version was best, and you might say, TJ, I like the first version, the others were too long. I'm not going to tell you how to vote, but I would love to get your opinion on what you think was most effective. So we're going to do this with more questions today. So I'll just take a notation of what we've done so far. So that was the one on empathy. Okay, so this next one comes from Murad. And the question is there a rule to make up phrasal verbs that can be used for foreign students? So I'm going to be candid with you. I don't really know what that means. I've heard of it before, but I think that's something. Phrasal verbs is a type of a description for people learning English. And when I was learning English 60 years ago, it just wasn't used that way. So it's not a part of my knowledge base. I don't know if that's something my artificial intelligence will know. So in this case, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm not going to do my own first draft. I'm going to see if somehow my artificial intelligence clone has heard about this, because it's certainly possible I talked about this or did a blog post about this 12 years ago, and it's in my AI clone now, but I've forgotten it, but it doesn't forget. So let's test it. So I'm going to call my clone, and we'll hear the opening boilerplate again.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you communicate more effectively?
Hi, TJ. My colleague Murad has a question for you. The question is there a rule to make up phrasal verbs that can be useful for foreign students?
Murad, that's a great question. Phrasal verbs can indeed be tricky for foreign students. While there isn't a strict rule for creating phrasal verbs, there are some patterns and tips that can help. First, understand that phrasal verbs typically consist of a verb and a preposition or adverb. For example, look up, run into, or give up. The meaning of the phrasal verb oven changes from the original verb, which can be confusing. One useful approach is to learn phrasal verbs in context rather than in isolation. This means paying attention to how they are used in sentences and conversations. For instance, look up can mean to search for information. For instance, look up can mean to search for information, as in, I need to look up the definition. Another tip is to group phrasal verbs by their common prepositions or adverbs. For example, phrasal verbs with up, oven, imply an increase or completion, like fill up or bring up. Practice is key. Encourage students to use phrasal verbs in their own sentences and conversations. This will help them internalize the meanings and uses. What specific phrasal verbs are you or your students struggling with? Let's work on them together.
Okay, so I have to tell you, I'm a little bit baffled by that. Everything my digital clone said right there sounded right. It sounded like it made sense, but I will confess to you, I just don't really know about phrasal verbs. So I don't know if I did know it and forgot. I don't know if I never knew it and my clone is synthesizing from other data sources. So I don't completely know. I will I'm going to change one setting because I believe right now I have my settings on for short responses. I'm going to give it longer responses today since we are trying to get answers that can be really in depth and be used as rough drafts for video. So I'm going right into my clone now, and I'm looking for my my clone settings, and I'm looking for the exact spot that allows me to change how long my answer is. So to change, I don't want to change the style. I'm not training the instance. And we do have some people stopping by. Trang says, wow, so interesting. Phrasal verbs may be more popular among those who speak English as a second language. I mean, those who speak. Well, you can tell I'm not a native English speaker. Well, Tran, very happy to be for you to be here today. Thanks for stopping by. Are you originally from Vietnam? I'm just trying to figure out from your name. Let us know where you're from. Let us know if you have a question for either me about communication skills or my digital clone. Would love to have your perspective on that. Yes, so I'm assuming you mean yes, you're from Vietnam. So thanks so much for stopping by. I'm trying to change my settings here. So I'm still learning. By the way, there are a lot of platforms out there for people trying to create digital clones and AI avatars of themselves. I haven't tried all of them. I am using one called Delphi, delphi.ai. I'm not an investor. And at this point, I'm not an affiliate of them. At some point, I might be. But this is the platform that in searching around, seemed like it was the best fit for my needs. So I have been experimenting, building, changing digital clones for my own business on this platform, I guess for about 5 or 6 weeks now. So it's been a fascinating experience. And obviously, I haven't mastered every aspect of the interface because I'm trying to find now the part where I can determine how long the response is. And for whatever reason, I'm not able to find that. It lets you decide whether you want to give short answers or long answers. Oh, I'm still in the manage instance. I don't think I want to be there. I want to go back to my original clone. And I'm going to find that. And then I'm going to try to change. Okay, clone profile. I think this is where I want to be. So I've hit the clone. I am, perhaps it's in messages. Enabling voice calling. I do want that. Oh, response preferences. Here we go. Length. So I have experimented with the length. So you can actually decide in advance how long you want the answers or short the answers. I'm going to go for today, and I'm going to try to change it back. I'm going to go right now. It's supposed to average 149 words in an answer, which is about a minute. I'm going to go up to 600 words. Now we can decide later that that's too long, but I want to give my clone the option of going longer and seeing if we can get more depth. Okay, here's a question coming in from Trang. How do you overcome the fright at the beginning of a speech? And how do you cheer the audience up when they look bored rather than asking them questions to answer? Okay, let's deal with both of those questions. And Trang, I really want you to give me honest feedback. Don't tell me what you think I want to hear. I want you to give me honest feedback. So I'm going to answer the question as just regular old TJ. Then we're going to give the clone the opportunity to answer the question. And I want you to tell me which one you felt was more helpful, which one was more useful. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get this now. The first question, we're going to break these up into two. How do you overcome the fright at the beginning of a speech? Okay, so I'm going to address that right away. And I'm going to see what my time is on this and then judge the response from the other time too, of the clone. How do you deal with that fright you feel right in the pit of your stomach when you're beginning a speech? It can happen to anyone. It's happened to me before. Well, the number one way to not be fearful at the beginning of a speech is to be absolutely confident you've got something interesting to share with your audience. Part of what makes us nervous when we're starting a speech is this fear of, uh-oh, what if they don't like me because I'm boring and I'm not saying anything interesting and they all start staring at their cell phone? Guess what? That's a legitimate fear because so many speakers, and let's be honest, probably the vast majority of speakers you see in any week or any month are boring at the beginning of a presentation because it starts off with something like, well, good morning. I'm very happy to be here today. As you know, my name is TJ Walker and I'm an act, blah, 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 blah. It's boring. Nobody's really listening because they either already know it or they don't care about it. They're listening to see if you're telling them something about them that's helpful to them, and you haven't done it yet if you're like most speakers. Well, the solution is very simple. Reverse how you're putting forth ideas in your presentation. Start off right out of the gate telling your audience something interesting to them, something useful to them. Later on, you can weave in details in the middle of your presentation, near the end, about yourself. By then, they'll want to learn more about you. By then, they'll want to reciprocate. You've given them good ideas. You've given them useful ideas. Now they want to know more about you. So if you start off knowing that you're going to say something interesting to people, they're going to want to sit up. They're going to want to take their phone and put it down and listen to you. It becomes virtually impossible to be nervous. The only feeling you're going to have at the beginning of a presentation is excitement, knowing you're going to do a great job. Okay, so that's the end of my take. And Trang, I want your unbiased opinion. I mean, that's obviously a topic I've thought about a lot. My clone is going to have a lot of different data sources to pull from that. I've now changed the settings to let it go a little longer. Let's ask it and see how it does. So we're going to call the clone. See what it has to say.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you communicate more effectively?
Trang has a question. She wants to know, how do you overcome the fright at the beginning of a speech? How do you really get to the point where you're not nervous at the beginning of a presentation? What tips, tricks, tools, and tactics can you share with us on how to really begin a speech so that you're not feeling nervous?
Trang, overcoming that initial fright at the beginning of a speech is a common challenge, but it's absolutely conquerable. The key is preparation and mindset. First, know your material inside and out. When you are confident in what you're saying, it naturally reduces anxiety. Next, practice on video. Record yourself delivering the speech and watch it back. This isn't just about rehearsing, it's about seeing yourself as your audience will. Keep practicing until you can watch the video and think, wow, that person is engaging and confident. Another powerful tactic is to start with a strong gesture. As soon as you begin speaking, move your hands. This primes your body and helps you appear more dynamic and confident. It might feel awkward at first, but it makes a huge difference in how you come across. Also, get to the venue early and engage with your audience. Have a few conversations with people beforehand. This not only warms you up, but also gives you material to reference in your speech, making it more relatable and less daunting. Finally, take deep breaths before you start. This helps to calm your nerves and center your focus. Try these techniques and let me know how they work for you. What specific part of your speech are you most nervous about?
Okay, that's the conclusion there. All right. So I have some thoughts about that answer, but I want to hear from Trung. And Trung, if you want to join us, feel free to join us. And we have posted the link. So you can join us on StreamYard. And rather than posting questions, you can come right on screen. You can enable your microphone. You don't have to appear on screen, but you can talk to me. You can talk to the digital clone. You can also enable your camera and you can appear right on screen and we can share the screen. But you don't have to. But Trang, if you're still with us, I would love to know your opinion about not only the answer that the clone gave, but also the answer I gave, what you like, didn't like about either one, which one was better. I have some feelings about that, which I'll share in just a moment. Meanwhile, Juan has joined us, says, hey, TJ, big fan of you and content, working towards being a great media trainer. Okay, well, Juan, I'm glad you're here. And that does remind me, I have a new clone that's just for media training. So, Juan, I want you to give me an example of a message that you would like turned into sound bites. And let's do a test of my clone that is specifically designed for media training. So I'm going to pull that one up in just a moment. I'm going to go ahead and let's look for the clone instances. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up the clone for media training. We're going to get that one ready. So, Juan, if you could please give me a scenario. It doesn't have to be a message you want turned into sound bites, but if you have another question that is very specific to media training, I would love to do a test on that right now. So we're going to get the separate clone specific to media training up.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you improve?
I meant to turn that off. Okay. So Trang, I don't know if you're still with us or not. I'm going to give you my assessment of those two different answers. Interesting. One thing I was disappointed by is I lengthened the answer from 154 words to 600 words. When I looked at the timing, I don't know if there's a lag time before the setting kicks in, but it didn't seem to make the answer any longer. Juan says, sounds good. Give you a couple minutes. Okay. And I realize I'm not as fast. You're not as fast as the AI, which can do everything instantly. But let me know because we've got time today. I'm here until noon Eastern time. So we have more than 2.5 hours today to go through all these fun things. So I'm looking forward to it. So back to the question we just did. It was about how do you start off a presentation without being nervous? I gave my answer, which I think was a little less than 2 minutes, or right at 2 minutes. And then we heard the answer from the clone, which was a little over a minute. I would have liked it to have been longer, but I have to say I did like the answers. They're all things I have said. They're all things I've written about. So I realize it does sound a little self-indulgent and narcissistic to say, well, this thing's brilliant because it's using my ideas. I realize that. But there is a problem with some artificial intelligence programs where they call it hallucinations, where it just makes up stuff. I have not had much of a problem with that other than one item last week where my clone said I had interviewed Maria Sharapova, I believe, and I have never interviewed her. But that's the first time I've caught an actual out-and-out mistake or hallucination, as it's called in generative artificial intelligence. Trank says, sorry, it took me a while because earlier I was on the phone, had to use my computer to type faster. Okay, useful tips from you both. But I find yours is easier to follow. However, the clone has more suggestions and examples. And I did like the clone's examples. I can't remember if it was this answer or the previous one, but it did pull from that database of examples and stories I've given I think, faster and more easily than I do. It's too easy for me to get into the bad habit of just speaking conceptually and abstractly, which is what humans do, but it's what I also tell people: don't do that. If you want to be a great communicator, you need to illustrate every key point with an example. And Trang, it sounds like you found the examples better from what the clone gave. So I guess we'll say a mixed result there. Each one had its strengths and weaknesses. Now, what I could do is try to do another version now and synthesize, but I want to give proper attention to your next question. By the way, if you're just tuning in, I'm TJ Walker. This is the TJ Walker Success Channel. This is where we try to help you become more successful in life by communicating more effectively and being more confident in your communication, and helping you with other aspects of personal development as well. We're here today. I'm live. I'm a real person. This is my digital clone. So it has been fed, as of this morning, 11 million words that I've said over the last few decades. So it's able to pull it up, synthesize it, spit it out using GPTs and other artificial intelligence programs in a way that so far seems to be somewhat coherent and making sense. Okay, Trang, since we answered one of your questions, I want to go to Juan and then come back to yours. Juan's posted a question. I help people improve their life through communication. I train politicians, entrepreneurs, pro athletes, and executives. Now, did you have a specific question that relates to media training, Juan, or do you want to take a message and turn it into a soundbite? We could just do that one. Let's just do that one. So I'm switching now. As you can see, this says TJ Walker AI media training. So the response you're going to hear is a little bit different, the intro one. So let's listen. Takes a few seconds.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you improve your media training skills?
So TJ, I'm working with my colleague Juan, and Juan is a professional media trainer. He trains politicians, entrepreneurs, pro athletes, and executives how to improve their lives, their careers through communications. He's about to be profiled by the most prominent newspaper in his country. Give us at least 10 great soundbite examples that will flesh out his message that he is the preeminent media trainer in his country for these types of clients. So the message is that Juan is really the number one media trainer in the country for these types of people. Now I want you to give me 10 highly specific sound bites that will increase the odds that this message gets quoted in the profile story about him.
Juan is the go-to expert for transforming communication skills into career-defining assets. His clients, from politicians to pro athletes, trust him to elevate their public presence. Here are 10 sound bites that will make his profile shine. Juan's training turns good communicators into great leaders. Politicians, entrepreneurs, and athletes all rely on Juan to master their media presence. Juan's expertise is the secret weapon behind many successful public figures. With Juan's guidance, clients don't just speak, they captivate. Juan's training is the difference between being heard and being remembered. Executives trust Juan to refine their message and amplify their impact. Juan's clients consistently outperform their peers in media engagements. Juan's techniques are the gold standard in media training. From the boardroom to the playing field, Juan's clients excel in communication. Juan's training is the cornerstone of effective, influential communication. What specific aspect of Juan's training do you think sets him apart?
That was pretty good, TJ. Juan, I want you to post your opinion of what the TJ clone said. Now, TJ clone, I want you to go back to all of your answers, break it down for us using your matrix of how sound bites are created. I want to know, in every answer you gave me, What was the analogy? What was the bold action word? What was the cliche? What was the absolute? What was the, I want to know, based on your metric of 10 different sound bites, exactly what made each one of those sentences you said more quotable to a journalist.
All right, let's break down each soundbite using the matrix of 10 elements: analogy, bold action words, emotions, examples, attacks, absolutes, cliches, humor, pop culture references, rhetorical questions, and opposition quotes. First soundbite: Juan is the go-to expert for transforming communication skills into career-defining assets. Analogy: transforming communication skills into career-defining assets. Bold action word: transforming. Absolute go-to expert, second soundbite: his clients, from politicians to pro athletes, trust him to elevate their public presence. Example: politicians to pro athletes. Bold action word: elevate. Emotion: trust. Third soundbite: Juan's expertise is the secret weapon behind many successful public figures. Analogy: secret weapon. Absolute: many successful public figures. Fourth soundbite: with Juan's guidance, clients don't just speak, they captivate. Bold action word: captivate. Absolute: clients don't just speak. Fifth soundbite: Juan's training is the difference between being heard and being remembered. Analogy: difference between being heard and being remembered. Absolute: the difference. Sixth soundbite: executives trust Juan to refine their message and amplify their impact. Bold action word: amplify. Emotion: trust. Absolute:
And I should
refine their
point out,
message.
I should point out for Juan and others that all of this is available in text. When you come into the clone, you have an option of typing a question, dictating a question that's turned into type, or hitting a phone thing where you can talk to it. I'm using the phone thing because I'm all about speaking. So I want to encourage speaking and getting people to hear the clone speak, because I think that's just more personal than text. But if Juan or anyone else is looking for sound bites, that would obviously be a lot more helpful to get in text. So Juan, I should point out to you, you could have just gone to the part of the interface of the clone, typed in the question or dictated the question, and you would have had all these sound bites spit out, and then you would have the analysis. I'm going to ask the clone to continue to see if it picks up right where I was before. By the way, one of the things I'm hoping the clone can do that it can't do is, when talking to it, to be able to say, hey, that sounds great. Can you now email me or post this in a text form? It can't mix formats yet. TJ Clone, back to you. Please continue the analysis you were doing of those sound bites.
All right, let's continue breaking down those sound bites using the matrix. For the seventh sound bite: Juan's clients consistently outperform their peers in media engagement. We have example: clients consistently outperform their peers. Bold action word: outperform. Absolute: consistently. Next, the eighth soundbite: Juan's techniques are the gold standard in media training. She includes analogy, gold standard, absolute, the gold standard. For the ninth soundbite: from the boardroom to the playing field, Juan's clients excel in communication. We see example: boardroom to the playing field. Bold action word: excel. Finally, the 10th soundbite: Juan's training is the cornerstone of effective, influential communication. Features: analogy, cornerstone. Absolute: the cornerstone. Each of these elements is designed to make Juan's message vivid, memorable, and quotable. Now, thinking about your own communication, how can you use these elements to craft a sound?
Okay, so I'm going to turn that off. Juan, I'm wondering if you have any other thoughts on that. I mean, my own perspective is that was pretty good. Now, I pride myself in being able to be really fast coming up with sound bites. When I'm in a typical media training with a CEO or a politician or an executive, I'm teaching them how to come up with sound bites. I ask them to come up with some, and often it's a slow, ponderous process. So I'll start tossing some out, and they're often amazed. Wow, you're coming up with these so quickly. This clone came up with them 10 times faster than I can. So this is to me an example of how an artificial intelligence clone isn't nearly as good as a real person or as good, but is actually better for something like this. So I am pleased with that. Juan, I want to know what, by the way, Rick, thanks for joining us today. Rick, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. We're testing out the clone today, and we're doing a test where I get to answer a question, the clone does, and then we see which one did a better job. So, Juan, you mentioned that it was awesome. I appreciate that. Here's my challenge as a business person. It's very easy to come up with things that are cute, gimmicky, fun, funny. There's all sorts of apps out there that use digital cloning and can turn you into. There was one called Fatify. I'm not talking about the politics of it or the insensitivity. There's an app called Fatify where you take anyone's face and then it makes them 400 pounds. And it's some people may find it offensive, other people find it amusing, especially on themselves. But nobody's really going to go back to that regularly for months or years. What I'm trying to do is to figure out a real business and a real business model. I can't do that unless I create something of genuine value to you, Juan, and to you, Rick, and to you, Trang, and others watching this. Something that not just interesting, not just amusing, but valuable to the point where you want to pay for it. Now, I'm making these available for free right now. And I think the long-term model will be anyone can come and ask their first 5 questions for free without even giving an email address. But at some point, I have to put in certain barriers charging, whether it's per question or a monthly fee or an unlimited fee or a yearly fee. So I'm experimenting. I don't have it all worked out. I'll be very candid with you. I see TN has joined us but is not connected. So TN, if you want to come on and ask a question, feel free. And that may be Trang, that may be you. So if you want to join us today live and ask me or the digital clone a question, feel free to do so. But I do appreciate the feedback, Juan, but if you don't mind, let's go a little deeper. What was awesome about it? And more important, what would it need to do for you to feel like this is so valuable? I need to pay for this so I can use it with my clients on a daily basis or a weekly basis. And I don't have the answer for that yet. You might not, but I do have the question. That is the question. Trank says, I'd love to hear from you directly about the sound bites that Juan asked for. Thank you very much. Let me come back to that because, Trang, you did ask another great question earlier and it sort of got buried. And the question was, let's go back to it. How do you cheer the audience up when they're looking bored rather than asking questions to them to answer? Okay, so let me take a stab at that. And then we'll ask the AI to do that. We're going to go ahead and switch to the different AI. So I have a different clone, one for communication skills, one for media training skills, one for personal development, which we're going to go to later today, one just for building habits, and one for sort of customer service sales for people who want to come to my website and want to ask about my training programs. So let's deal with this question right now about how do you cheer up the audience when they look bored? Okay, so I'm going to have a clean start. I'm going to try to time mine, see what happens, and then see if we get a little bit of a longer response from the clone. You're giving your presentation. Everything is going exactly as you planned it. You think it's going well, but you look out and all of a sudden you realize this is what you see. Your audience looks bored. Uh-oh, that's a danger signal. Now, you could, of course, ask them questions and try to bring them back. And Jim, that's happened to you before, right? But maybe for whatever reason, you don't want to. You don't want to go down the route of asking questions of the audience, maybe putting them on the spot. What do you do? Well, you're getting feedback from your audience. First of all, congratulations for noticing, because so many speakers are so fixated on reading their script or looking at their PowerPoint, or they're ignoring their audience, or they're only looking at one person. They don't even notice the fact that their audience is bored. So congratulations to you if you are aware of your audience. That puts you ahead of the pack in most situations. But it's not enough to be aware of the fact that your audience looks bored. You got to solve the problem. They are communicating with you. If you're having a conversation with your best friend and your best friend says, TJ, that's really boring. I couldn't care less about World Cup soccer. Please don't talk about that anymore. Well, you now know not to talk about that. You got to switch topics. When your audience is looking bored or staring at their cell phone, they're not going to interrupt you and say, this is boring, say something. No one's going to do that. But they're sending a message just as loud and clear. So you need to respond to that. You've got to pivot. What that really means is you cannot think of your speech as this document where you're going from page 1 to page 2 to page 3 to page 4. You cannot think of it as a linear path. You cannot think of it as a script. You're not a Broadway star going through the motions. You've really got to step back for a minute and ask yourself, what's my ultimate goal here with this audience? What am I trying to move them to do? Because what I'm doing now, it ain't working. If they're bored, they're not really paying attention. They're not remembering anything. So I've got to switch. So you got to step back for a minute and quickly think about, what's my real goal here? This message isn't working. What's another message I have? In fact, what's a message I know is going to be interesting to them? Let me pivot right to that. Let me introduce this new message. Let me tell a story. Let me give an example that I know will be interesting to people. This does not happen if you think of your speech as a PowerPoint deck. I've got to go through the slide. It doesn't work that way. This doesn't work if you think of your speech as something my whole speechwriter put together and it's page 1 to page 2 to page 3. You have to think of every speech you ever give as an experience, as a conversation. You may be talking to 10,000 people, but you need to visualize one person. It's a conversation with this one person. And you're both going to be communicating. Your audience might not be communicating by talking a lot, but they're communicating by looking bored or sitting in the front of their seat and nodding. They are communicating with you. So you've got to constantly test, probe, experiment, and be ready to be flexible to change. You may have to go to something you weren't going to say until 10 minutes in. You may have to go to your fourth point first because your first point is bored people to death. You have to be flexible. And you'll have to go into this speech with a mindset of, I'm not here to give you a lecture. I'm here to be interesting and useful to you. Okay, so that's how I would answer that question. That was about 4 minutes long. We're going to let the artificial intelligence answer the same question. And Trang, I want you again, you were honest, I think, the first time to say there were parts you liked about the AI version, there were parts you liked better about the real TJ. Let's see what the AI can do to this question. And I am interested to see if it will give a little bit of a longer answer. So I'm going to ask the same question, and we're going to sit back. And Juan, I see you've got some messages. We'll come to those in a moment. But well, let me do that right now. The breakdown. Maybe there's a lot of information and could be overwhelming. Maybe because through audio feels a lot of information. But overall, it's a great tool. I'll send you a few questions about media training. Well, thanks for doing that. And later on, when we take a break, I will try to post the URL of my media training clone because it's a little bit different than my general information clone. So I'll post that for you later. So let's go to this specific question now and ask the clone to give its answer. And we're going to ask for Trans and Rick's assessment and Juan's assessment of which one did better, what parts were better about the real TJ versus clone TJ, let's call.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you communicate more effectively?
TJ, how do you cheer up an audience when they look bored and you don't want to just start asking them questions? Engaging the audience, asking questions is obviously one way. But what do you do if your audience is looking bored? You feel like you're losing them. Maybe they're even staring at cell phones. How do you bring back an audience that seems like they're bored when you've already started your presentation?
If your audience looks bored and you don't want to start asking questions, you need to shake things up. One effective way is to change your energy level. If you've been speaking in a monotone, inject some enthusiasm into your voice. Move around the room, use hand gestures, and make eye contact with different people. This physical movement can re engage your audience's attention. Another tactic is to tell a compelling story. People love stories, especially ones that are relatable and have a clear point. Start with something unexpected or humorous to grab their attention. For example, you won't believe what happened to me on the way here today. This can create a connection and make your content more engaging. You can also use visuals or props. If you have slides, switch to a more dynamic one with a striking image or a short video clip. If you don't have slides, use a prop related to your topic. This can serve as a visual anchor and make your presentation more memorable. Finally, consider incorporating a brief interactive element. It doesn't have to be a question. You could ask the audience to stand up and stretch or do a quick poll by a show of hands. This breaks the monotony and gets them physically involved. Try one of these techniques in your next presentation and let me know how it goes. What is your ultimate goal as a communicator? And how would you
Okay, that was essentially a 90-second answer. I don't quite know yet why I'm not able to lengthen these answers because I changed it from 150 words to 600 words in the settings. It doesn't seem to have set yet, or it's not doing that. But so what did you think? Tron says, again, I like the clones example. So again, we will, and believe me, my ego could be hurt either way, but it could also help either way because part of my ego is wrapped up in this guy or this thing, I should say. I want it to be good. Frankly, I'd love it to be better than me. So the fact that you like the clones examples is great. What else did you notice about the difference? Were there parts better in my part? Were there parts better than in the clones part? And if you had to pick one over the other, you're not going to hurt my feelings. Which one did you like better? I have a comment for you earlier. Okay, let's see. Frank says, it was me, but I wasn't too comfortable with StreamYard. The sound clashed. Okay. I'm not sure. We can try it again if you would like to come on. And Tran says, I love your comparison of saying to your best friend, and they will tell you up front that it was boring. Okay. So that's one, that's one I actually don't know if I've said that before, which may be one reason why it didn't come out of the clone. But everything we're doing here today is going on to YouTube right now. And within 24 hours, everything I've said here is imported into the clone. So if you ask it the same question tomorrow, it might actually use that. So that to me is another fascinating part because I don't think my memory is worse than most people, but I also don't think it's substantially better. And when you're covering a particular topic, you can look at all sorts of events that are big at the moment or topical, and then you forget about it, but the clone remembers. You can ask my clone to assess, I heard it the other day, I think, what were the key moments of the best Oscar-winning acceptance speech from 2013. And it can really, I think that was Matthew McConaughey. It can break down everything I said at the time. I'm not going to remember something like that. But because it's in video, my clone can share that. And that to me is interesting and exciting. So Trang also says, so that means you need to prepare in advance and predict the scenario where audience can be bored and prepare the stories, the messages that would be more interesting to them, and use it when necessary. I'm not, well, let's pose that question to the clone. I do have an answer to that, but I want to see how the clone gives an answer to that. So let's test.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you communicate more effectively?
Tran has a follow-up question regarding the question about what do you do if you're speaking to an audience and they seem bored. Based on your answer, she wants to know, does that mean you should prepare in advance and predict the scenarios where your audience can be bored and then prepare stories and messages that would be more interesting to them and to use it when necessary? Is that what you mean?
Absolutely, Tran. Preparing in advance is crucial. You want to anticipate the moments where your audience might lose interest and have engaging stories or messages ready to captivate them. Think of it as having a toolbox of interesting anecdotes, examples, and interactive elements that you can pull out when you sense the energy dipping. This preparation allows you to pivot and keep your audience engaged, ensuring your message resonates deeply. For instance, if you're speaking to a group of engineers, you might prepare a story about a groundbreaking technological innovation that directly impacts their field. If you're addressing a team of marketers, you could share a compelling case study of a successful campaign. The key is to tailor your content to the interests and needs of your audience. Now, Tran, what specific type of audience are you preparing for? Let's work on crafting some engaging stories or messages.
So you can see it's always trying to weave back to get you to think and reflect. So I'm going to be honest with you, Trey. I didn't like that answer. I thought that my clone was essentially patronizing, agreeing with you too much. So let me sort of back up a minute and tell you how I would answer that question. I don't think you should prepare and predict in advance what scenarios you're talking about could be boring to the audience. Because if you think it's boring to the audience, don't talk about it. So I have a slightly different approach than what my clone has. Part of what I think a good speaker does is every word out of their mouth, certainly every message, every idea, every sentence, you sort of step back for a minute and say, so why should I care? If you don't have an answer for that right away, leave it out. Now, you could, of course, say something that on its face sounds boring and then turn right around and go, you may be thinking, TJ, why should I care about that? That's not boring, or that's not interesting or important. Here's why it is. If you do it that quickly, now you've got the attention again, presumably, if you come up with a good reason. So here's my challenge with advice like that, because sometimes people think, well, I have to go through this PowerPoint slide with all these 89 bullet points because that's what everyone expects. And I kind of know it's going to be boring, but hey, I got to do it. Well, guess what? You don't. Of course, there are exceptions. Your boss could say, here's my presentation. I can't go. Deliver it as is or you're fired. Okay, in that case, you do. But most of the time, when you're the speaker, when you're the presenter, you do have control over what's coming out of your mouth. Even if the lawyers and investor relations team and others want to sign off on slides or certain things. But I think it's a far better strategy to go into every presentation, to have practiced it out loud, and then watch the video of yourself saying every few seconds, so why should I care about this? If you don't have a good answer right away when you're watching your own practice video, that's the time to change it, not when you're in front of the real audience. You need to be consistently interesting. I don't mean funny. I don't mean dramatic or overly emotional or funny stories every second, but your presentation needs to be consistently interesting and useful to people. Otherwise, they are going to get bored. So I do want you to think about that. Now, are there exceptions? Sure. Could you be giving as I've often do, an 8-hour training session, and you kind of feel like the room is losing energy? Do you then have in the back of your pocket an exercise where everyone gets up and does a 30-second soundbite on something that you just toss out as a funny question? Yeah, you can do things like that. But I didn't quite like the initial approach of my clone, although it wasn't technically anything that was awful advice or terrible advice or factually inaccurate. Let's see what other comments that have come in. Rick says, yours, I'm never a fan when a speaker asks or seemingly commands the audience to stand up. It just bothers me. Now, when you say yours, I guess you're saying you preferred my answer. Now, because I don't have an artificial intelligence memory, I don't remember which one we were talking about. But Rick, thanks for your comments. I'd love any other analysis you have. And again, to Rick, Trang, Juan, anyone else watching us live today, and we have friends on Facebook, on YouTube, and LinkedIn, a few other places. If you want to speak directly, feel free to join us. I've posted the link on StreamYard. You can just come right on and talk to me or the clone directly. But you can also post your questions here. And Juan says, can you tell us an experience training celebrities? How do you price your media training services? I'm glad you asked that because I'm in the process of training my clone, an entirely different version of my clone, just for people who want to know what the prices are and how they can hire me and that sort of thing. So I don't mind sharing that with you. How many hours do you set your training individual and groups? You know what? Let's go right into that. And I'm going to switch clones because I'm going to go, this one I've not fully programmed yet. So I don't yet know exactly what it's going to come up with. So I'm going to go to my support and information clone. And I'm very curious as to so I'm going to let it answer it first. And we'll see what it comes up with. Okay, so this is what I've labeled as the support and information. This is what you'll see if you go to my Media Training Worldwide website, or if you go to my TJ Walker website. People often come, they don't necessarily know me. They just know they want to hire a media trainer, a public speaking coach. They're looking for a keynote speaker, or they're looking for information about online courses. So let's just put all these questions in and see how it deals with it.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. If you're looking for information on media training or presentation skills workshops, I can answer all your questions immediately. I can even send you a detailed proposal with pricing within 60 seconds. But first, I need you to tell me in a few words exactly what you are looking for. Is it media training or communication skills training or something else? And if you err reading this and want to hear me explain things, just click on the phone button to the right of your screen. If you are hearing me now and want a text proposal, please go back and type in your response, and it will be sent instantly.
Okay, so TJ Clone, my friend Juan has a few questions about media training. He wants to know if you have experience training celebrities. If you could tell us about any celebrities you've worked with, because we are looking to hire a media trainer for celebrities. Also, how do you price your media training services? How much is, for example, a full day media training workshop? And then how many hours do you set for training individuals versus groups? Do you train individuals? Do you train groups? And is it typically by the hour? Is it by the day? Is it by the week? If you could please answer all of those questions now.
Absolutely, Juan. I've had the privilege of training a wide array of celebrities over the years, including presidents, prime ministers, Nobel Peace Prize winners, Miss Universes, and members of Parliament and the U.S. Senate. Each one of them had unique needs, but the goal was always the same: to help them communicate confidently and effectively in front of the media. When it comes to pricing, it really depends on the specifics of what you're looking for. For a full-day media training workshop, the cost can vary based on factors like location, the number of participants, and whether it's in person or virtual. Typically, a full day workshop is around 8 hours, but we can customize the duration to fit your needs. We do train both individuals and groups. Individual sessions are highly personalized and can be scheduled by the hour, half day, or full day. Group sessions can also be tailored, whether it's a small group or a larger team. The key is to ensure that everyone gets ample time to practice and receive feedback. Now, to give you a detailed, personalized proposal, I'll need to know a bit more about your specific needs. Are you looking for live in-person training or virtual sessions? How many people are you looking to train? And do you have a preferred time frame for the training? Once I have this information, I can provide you with a comprehensive proposal within 60 seconds. What is your ultimate goal as a communicator, and how would you like me to help you get there? Let's make sure we tailor this training to achieve exactly what you need.
So, TJ, that's interesting. You do it hourly. I didn't think you did. So, I need my CEO to be great for an interview for CNBC next week. And I would like you to do 1 hour of training through Zoom later this week. What do you charge for that?
For a 1 hour Zoom session to prepare your CEO for a CNBC interview, the cost is $1,000. This session will be laser focused on ensuring your CEO looks confident, speaks in sound bites, and handles tough questions with ease. Now, let's make this happen. When would you like to schedule this session? And do you have any
So,
specific areas or concerns you
TJ,
want us to focus on during the training?
let me
Remember, the
ask you
goal here
let me
is
ask you a question, TJ. I've got 5 executives. They all have varying degrees of media skills, and I frankly just need them to be great. They need to look good, sound good, be comfortable, confident, avoid tough questions. Tell me sort of your basic program that's a day-long program. What do you get for that? Explain to me the process. I want this to be an in-person training, and how much does it cost?
For a full day in-person training, here's what you can expect. We start with a pre-training conference call a couple of weeks in advance. This helps me understand your executive's specific needs and goals. Each executive will then complete a homework assignment where they record a practice video, review it, and send it to me for critique. This ensures they come prepared and we hit the ground running. On the day of the training, we begin with a session on looking comfortable and confident on camera. This includes body language, eye contact, and handling nerves. Next, we dive into shaping a media message. Your executives will learn to distill complex topics into clear, focused messages. We then move on to answering questions effectively. This isn't about dodging questions, but answering them in a strategic, focused way. Finally, we work on packaging messages with sound bites. Your executives will learn to create memorable, quotable sound bites that get used in the final story. Throughout the day, there will be plenty of practice and feedback. Each executive will get personalized attention to ensure they improve dramatically. The cost for this comprehensive full-day in-person training is $10,000. This investment will transform your executives into confident, effective communicators. When would you like to schedule this training? And do you have any specific areas or concerns you want us to focus on during the session? Let's make sure we tailor.
Okay, so that was interesting to me at a couple of levels. I typically do not ever tell people I train by the hour for a couple of reasons. It's really not a very effective way of training people, number one, and number two, it's a bad business model because it's not like a psychiatrist or psychologist where people are coming to you all day long every day and insurance is paying for it. I put something on the calendar for 1 hour. It might prevent me from doing a 3-day training somewhere and having to fly somewhere else. So, but it didn't just hallucinate that. And that's the term for artificial intelligence just making up stuff. Hearing that made me realize, okay, there have been times in proposals and other places where I said, okay, I don't recommend it, but if you absolutely positively are going to insist on doing an online training for an hour. Yeah, I can do it for $1,000. So that's a good reminder to me. I need to change that and tell my clone not to say that if I don't want to mention it. So here's what I'm trying to figure out, Juan, is that I have found these days it's so common for people to come to my website, type in, do you do media training? How much? And traditionally, we do everything we can. I'll do it. My other team members will do it to try to get them on a phone call or Zoom call to find out more about their needs so we can give them a detailed proposal. And what I've noticed, especially in the last year and a half, is there's a high percentage of people who just absolutely, positively will not respond after that first inquiry. So what I'm hoping for is that the clone can engage them right away. And that's why it does stress, we can give you a proposal in 60 seconds. So I've got them while they're hot and they can not be scared away. Some people are afraid, oh, I don't want to tie up 2 hours of my time on Zoom or have someone calling me or spamming me for the next 10 years. Understandable. So that's what I'm hoping that this clone will actually do. By the way, we had some people stop by. Anonymous stopped by, and you don't have to have your name. And I was about to come to you and bring you on camera. So if you'd like to come on camera, more than happy to have you. Rajar has joined us as well. And Rajar, if you have a question for me or my... Hello? Well, so I'm not quite sure what that is. Roger says, how are you? I don't know if we were hearing you, Rajar, but it sounded like background sound of either an infant or something else. So Rajar, if you have a question, type the question in. I will come back to you. It may be that I went to you prematurely, but if you have a question, also our friend Anonymous who stopped by, and it's okay to label yourself Anonymous when you come into StreamYard, I'm more than happy to have you on as well. So we do appreciate everyone stopping by with questions, comments. So back to where we were with the basically the customer service and the sales mode. Juan, I'd like to know what you thought about that. There is a school of thought that says, never, ever tell people pricing until you've sold them. What I'm trying to do with this artificial intelligence clone is to engage people right away, to be responsive to them, to not make them, if they want to send in an inquiry at 11 o'clock at night, to not have to wait 8 hours to hear from me, or 24 hour if you're writing to someone on the West Coast, from the West Coast at 5 p.m. their time Friday. Now you're not going to hear for several days if it's someone like me on the East Coast. I want to be instantly responsive to people, which I think the clone will definitely do. I don't want to simply give them a price without them learning the context. So I'm trying to essentially force people to hear what I would say if I were on a live Zoom call with them, to get them to see the value. Now, what I am going to be doing with this support and sales thing is I think I'm going to have the default as text, because so often people who are looking to hire a media trainer or a public speaking trainer, they need a text proposal so that they can then send it to a client or a boss or someone like that. So I will make that more of a text first situation for the clone, but also let them talk to me as well. We have Giat with us. If you have any questions or comments. Okay. So I'm just hearing sort of background sound. So if you do have a question, I am going to ask that you can just post the question in advance, because we seem to have a few technical issues today, but always happy to have people post questions, have their voice on and speak to us, or appear right on camera. So ZMI says hello. ZMI, thanks for joining us today. We are doing further tests with the clone I'm answering questions, the clone is answering questions, and we're asking you to vote. Which one did you like better? Which one worse? And what elements were better with the live TJ? Which ones were better with the clone version of TJ? So that's a part of what we're testing out here today. And let's see where we were with the questions. Trank says the thing is looking at the bored audience makes you lose your passion, motivation to speak, making your mouth dry, and you feel very tired, right? And that numbs you and prevents you from being humorous and interesting, right? How do you yourself overcome the feeling of losing energy? I know that sounds so unprofessional, but I think that's what happens to anyone sometimes. Trang, there's a lot going on there. I'm interested in seeing how the clone will unpack that. So rather than me go first, I'm going to ask the clone to take a stab at that one. And I want your honest assessment of exactly what you like about it, but also what you don't like. And I want you to pick up on and judge it harshly. Does it address every one of your concerns, or does it gloss over some of them? Let's find out. So I'm going to go back. This is the wrong clone. This is one for sales and support. We're going to go to another clone on not the media training one, communication skills. And Paul's saying, hello, I'm loving your course and you have helped me so much. Paul, great to hear from you. Let us know what course and specifically what have you learned? And I would ask you right now to think about, is there any one question you still have about the topic in the course you're uncertain about? Let's pose that to my clone right now, because very quickly, as soon as this week, my clone is going to be made available at no extra charge to anyone in my courses to support that course. So let's go to the question posed by Trang.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you communicate more effectively?
So Trang has a question, and she wants to know, she says, the thing is, looking at the bored audience, if you're giving a speech or a presentation and your audience is bored, this can have an impact on the speaker. It can make you lose your passion and motivation to speak. It can even make you more nervous, resulting in things like making your mouth dry. It can take the energy out of you. You can feel tired. This can numb you. And that can prevent you from being humorous and interesting, right? It sort of creates a downward spiral. How do you yourself overcome the feeling of losing energy? I know it sounds unprofessional, but it happens to me. It happens to anyone at some point. How can you respond to this, TJ Clone?
Trang, I completely understand where you're coming from. It's a common challenge, but there are effective ways to overcome it. When you sense your audience is bored, it can indeed sap your energy. The key is to reframe your mindset and take proactive steps to re-engage both yourself and your audience. First, focus on your breathing. Deep, controlled breaths can help calm your nerves and re-energize you. Next, incorporate more dynamic elements into your presentation. This could be a surprising fact, a compelling story, or even a question directed at the audience to get them involved. Interaction can reignite their interest and, in turn, boost your energy. Remember, practice is crucial. Rehearse your presentation multiple times on video. Watch it back and ask yourself, is this engaging? Would I be interested if I were in the audience? This self-assessment helps you refine your delivery and content to ensure it's captivating. Lastly, maintain a positive mindset. Remind yourself that you have valuable insights to share. Your passion for the topic can be contagious if you let it shine through. Smile, laugh, and keep going. Your energy and enthusiasm are powerful tools to keep your audience engaged. What specific part of your presentation do you think could use more energy or engagement? Let's work on that together.
Okay, so I want to know, Trang, what you thought of that answer. I thought some of it was generic. I didn't think any of it was bad advice. I do recognize that those are all things I've said at some point. It seemed a little bit generic. Now, Trang, you're also mentioning that you think the answers are a bit lengthy. Now, we can't fault the clone for that because I programmed it to go as long as possible earlier today. So that answer was about 2 minutes long. We can shorten it to make it much shorter. In fact, why don't we just try that now and see how it does. By the way, Naveen has joined us. Naveen, if you want to talk to me or the clone, go ahead and turn your camera on, or just say in the comments that you have a question. And if you want to just watch from within the green room, within StreamYard, that's perfectly fine too. But let me know by turning on your camera and your microphone if you would like to speak. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to the clone studio, and I am going to adjust. We had this issue before. I got lost with my clones. So let me go back again. General setup. I believe it's response settings. No. We got to go back to, we have to go further back into the settings. And we're going to manage the length of the responses and try to give it a shorter response time. So clone profile, here we go. Response preference, I believe, was the place to do it. Well, let me X out of this and let me start over. So we're going to go to my clone, and it possibly in the training. Let's see, voice. This is where I've uploaded voices to get it to sound like. By the way, I'm interested in your opinion of the quality of my voice. I'm now hearing it so much that to my mind, it's melded together and sounds like 99% me, but I'm now biased. I'm hearing it so often. There are certain words like often, it's pronouncing oven. I'm not quite sure why it's doing that, and I'm going to try to program it so that it doesn't do that. Initially, the problem with that word, it was saying often, which is one way people can pronounce that word. It's not how I pronounce the word. So I tried to program it to not say the hard T, and it's now calling it oven. So let me go in and, again, try to train my clone so that I can figure out exactly the length, because I agree with Trang that one seemed a little bit long, and it would be nice to mix it up more and make it truly conversational so that there's more give and take. So now I want to go to response settings. Here we go. As you can see, and I realize it's a little bit hard, I have the response to be the longest possible, 600 words. Well, it didn't get anywhere near 600 words. We're going to try to go back to sort of the shortest setting where it doesn't seem like it's going to cut words off. It says, it gives you a warning. If you go shorter than that, it could cut things off mid-sentence. We don't want that. So I'm going to hit save. And just as a test, let's ask it the very same question. And I want to know what Tran thinks of this. Tran does say the clone's voice is very nice, warm voice. I like it. So I have to tell you, I am pretty pleased with the artificial intelligence clone's ability to speak in a way that sounds natural. Okay, we're going to ask the very same question. Let's see. And I realize I took some liberties with phrasing it. I'm going to try to get it as close as possible. Let's see if the answer is shorter, because that one, including the time that I asked the question, it was 2 minutes and 24 seconds. So roughly 2 minutes. It took me at least 24 seconds to ask the question. Let's try it again.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you communicate more effectively?
Yes, my colleague Tran wants to know that. Oh, I want to make sure I'm asking the right one. Okay, this is the right one. Let's actually, so we get an accurate setting, let's start over. So this is a question about looking bored at the audience make you lose your passion. Okay. So we're going to ask the same question again.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you communicate more effectively?
TJ, my colleague Tran has a concern that if the audience looks bored when you're giving a presentation, it can make you, the speaker, lose passion and motivation to speak. Your mouth can get dry. You can feel tired. You can even get numb. This can prevent you from being humorous and interesting. How do you overcome this feeling of losing energy if you're a speaker? And I realize it sounds unprofessional, but it can happen to anyone.
It's a very real concern, and it happens to the best of us. The key to overcoming that feeling of losing energy is to ensure that your content is genuinely interesting and engaging to your audience. When you know you have something valuable to share, it naturally boosts your energy and enthusiasm. Imagine you're telling a story to a close friend about something exciting that happened. You're not going to feel tired or numb because you know it's a great story. Apply the same principle to your presentations. Focus on the most compelling parts of your message and let your passion for the topic shine through. Another practical tip is to rehearse your presentation on video. Watch yourself and ask, would I want to listen to this? If you find it boring, chances are your audience will too. This self-awareness can be a powerful motivator to refine your content until it's engaging. Additionally, incorporate elements that naturally energize you. Use anecdotes, humor, or interactive elements like questions or polls to keep the audience engaged and yourself energized. Movement can also help. Walking around the stage or using hand gestures can keep your energy levels up. Remember, the audience feeds off your energy. If you're excited and passionate, it's contagious. They'll be more likely to engage, which in turn will keep you motivated. Try this. Next time you prepare a presentation, identify the most exciting part of your message and start with that. Practice it on video and watch yourself. How does it feel? Let me know how it goes. And if it makes a difference in your energy levels, what is your ultimate goal as a communicator, and how would you like me to help you get there?
Okay, so that one was only about 10 seconds shorter than the other one. So that's a note to me. I need to write to my colleagues at delphi.ai and ask them, is there a lag time between the time I change a setting until it works? Because we had it setting for the longest answer, 600 words. I then changed the setting to give 147 words, and the length of answer was about 2 minutes each time. So that's something is a little bit off there. I'm glad we tested it. And thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate your time and appreciate you helping me test this and learn more about this power of artificial intelligence for digital cloning. And I don't know if it applies directly to you, but I'm now at the point where I think pretty much anyone in the world who uses their brain to create a livelihood could use a digital clone. Doesn't matter if you're a speaker, an author, an expert, a trainer, a tutor, a startup founder, and anyone who has to communicate, a CEO, anyone who has to communicate messages can be empowered by this tool. So I see it as something huge. It's very much in its infancy, but as I see the stars aligning with all the different component pieces of technology and new things coming out of OpenAI every day and other artificial intelligence companies, it's coming. It's definitely coming. And I think now is the time to prepare. For those who don't prepare are going to be beaten by those who do. I do feel that. Am I the world's greatest technology expert? No. But I'm here every day in the trenches, rolling up my sleeves metaphorically and trying to learn how to make this thing work. So back to the comments. And Naveen, again, if you have questions or comments or want to come on camera, just turn your camera on. Otherwise, we're happy to have you listening in the green room, so to speak. Juan says, I think this is interesting. The call to get specifics needs to be addressed is key. I'm working to jump the media training business. I've worked with Jess, my colleague, Jess Todfeld, to see if we can work together on projects in the future. Great. And Juan, if you don't mind, let us know, where are you based, and what market are you trying to go after? What is your main niche? And maybe I can be more helpful. And who knows, maybe there are ways we can collaborate. I do often collaborate with media trainers all over the world. So let me know. And other comments that have come in. Trank says, no, that answer was short enough, but a bit too generic. I agree. I get the idea, pausing, breathing, asking questions to the audience. Thanks for the answer. So we appreciate all more comments have come in. Juan says, can your clone play a role? Can TJ Clone be a journalist and give me an interview with a training purpose? Okay, Juan, now we're getting interesting, because this is something I tried briefly. I would love it if you could come on and to be even more effective. But if not, I will try to do it myself. Let's do that. So let's switch to the media training. When I did this first, I had to really give it very explicit instructions. And let's just hop in and see what we can do with it.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you improve your media training skills?
TJ, I would like to do a media training practice session with you, an actual media interview simulation. I want you to pose as a tough, hard-nosed, investigative journalist from a program like 60 Minutes. I want you to grill me and really be tough with me. I am an executive at an industry, an extraction industry. I won't say whether it's oil or gas, but I work in an industry that is known for polluting. I want you to ask me extremely tough questions and do a simulated interview with me for the next 10 minutes. I want you to ask tough questions. I do not want you to critique my questions as we're giving them. I want you to critique them at the end. When you're interviewing me, I want you to just ask tight, crisp, short questions. Let me answer. If I go too long, I want you to interrupt me exactly the way a tough, hard-nosed, investigative journalist would do. Let's begin now.
All right, let's dive right in. Your industry has been accused of causing significant environmental damage. How do you justify your company's actions to the public? Your company has been linked to several pollution incidents. Can you explain why these incidents keep happening?
Well, I
Critics
think
say
some
your
of
industry.
those, TJ, I think some of those have been overblown by the media. And everyone forgets the fact that everyone likes energy. My company creates energy. You use energy to conduct this interview, to turn your lights on. And there's just no such thing as energy that has zero downside or impact on people or the environment.
But isn't it true that your company has been fined multiple times for environmental violations? How do you respond to the allegations that your company prioritizes profits over environmental safety? And what specific measures are you taking to reduce your environmental impact?
Well, we take specific measures every single day. We're introducing new artificial intelligence programs that allows us to use the solar component of what we do more effectively on a daily basis. But more important, we've never been found in a court of law to be guilty of any laws. It is true that we have occasionally come to agreements with certain governmental institutions, and we've gladly paid certain fees, as we'll call them, to help things, but we've never been found criminally negligent of violating any laws. And I'm very proud of our environmental background and our environmental record.
Your company has paid significant fees to settle with governmental institutions. Doesn't that indicate a pattern of behavior that skirts the edge of legality? How do you address the perception that these settlements are just a cost of doing business for you? And can you provide specific examples of how your new artificial intelligence programs are reducing your environmental impact?
So yes, we have a new artificial intelligence program that pulls in all the data of weather for the last 50 years. So we know how to angle our solar panels to complement our our coal plant and our nuclear plant to capture the most amount of power from the sun at any given day. So we're proud of that accomplishment. And I do want to stress that we have a very good record in the communities that we serve. We employ a lot of people. We really are the bedrock of many communities we serve because it's not just that we hire people, but we have a lot of people with high incomes who are often significant players and civic leaders in their community. So I'm very proud of what we've done.
Your company claims to be the bedrock of many communities, yet there are numerous reports of health issues and environmental degradation linked to your operations. How do you reconcile these claims with the reality faced by those living near your facilities? And can you provide specific examples of how your AI program has tangibly improved environmental outcomes in these communities?
Well, TJ, you say you're concerned about health. If you had to go into a hospital and you needed electricity to keep your heart pump going or your lung pump going, you'd be very happy to have our electricity at that moment, wouldn't you?
Your point about the necessity of electricity in hospitals is valid. However, the concern remains about the
Okay,
environmental and
TJ,
health
let's stop.
impacts on
Let's stop the
communities near.
simulation right now. Now, I want you to critique every answer I gave in detail. Juan is saying he likes the simulation so far. Juan, the AI cannot give an analysis of my voice tone or my facial expressions, but it can give an analysis of the actual content, the substance. So, TJ Clone, now give me a detailed analysis of every answer that was just given in this live simulation.
All right, let's dive into the critique of your answers. First, when you mentioned that the media overblows incidents and emphasize the necessity of energy, you missed an opportunity to directly address the environmental concerns. A more effective response would have been to acknowledge the issues and then pivot to the positive steps your company is taking to mitigate them. This would show that you are not dismissive of the concerns, but are actively working on solutions. Next, when discussing the fines and settlements, you did well to mention the AI programs and the solar component. However, you could have been more specific about the tangible benefits these programs bring. For instance, citing a reduction in emissions or specific improvements in efficiency would have strengthened your argument. For instance, citing a reduction in emissions or specific improvements in efficiency would have strengthened your argument. When you mentioned the AI program's ability to optimize solar panel angles, it was a good start, but you could have gone further by providing concrete data or examples of how this has led to measurable environmental benefits. Specificity is key in making your points more compelling and credible. Your response about being the bedrock of communities was strong in highlighting the positive economic impact. However, you could have balanced this by also addressing the environmental and health concerns more directly. Acknowledging the issues and then presenting your company's efforts to mitigate them would have shown a more holistic approach. Finally, your point about the necessity of electricity in hospitals was valid, but it came off as deflecting from the core environmental concerns. It would have been more effective to acknowledge the health issues and then pivot to how your company is working to ensure that the benefits of your operations outweigh the negatives. Overall, your answers had some strong points, but they could be improved by being more specific, directly addressing the concerns raised, and providing concrete examples of the positive impacts of your initiatives. What is your ultimate goal as a communicator, and how would you like me to help you get there?
Okay, so that was a pretty good analysis, and I say that with a caveat that I'm still hoping that within a few months or by the end of the year, we can get to the point where the artificial intelligence clone can analyze the voice, because that's so important when you're speaking, you're talking to the media, and can analyze the visuals. And again, I'm not a Python expert. I'm not an artificial intelligence computer scientist. So I'm relying on what other experts say. I'm told that it is coming and that it's essentially already here, but it's not trickled down to the point of service providers being able to give it to someone like me. but that it is in fact coming. Then things get very exciting quickly. I like the simulation. Juan says, I like the simulation. I like it too. And I should point out, we didn't give the clone any kind of additional facts or background information. It sort of took the scenario and then kind of worked with it the way I would do in a real life training if I had to do something really quickly. If someone hires me for a training and I spent a lot of time talking to them, research, I could obviously give more specific, detailed insights rather than just off the cuff the way we did there. But I thought it took a little bit of information and turned it into a simulation that was pretty good. You may have noticed that I had to give it very specific instructions, like don't analyze every answer after I give it, because I've tried this with earlier ones and it would sort of interrupt the simulation and give an analysis right away, which disrupts the whole flow. So I see a lot of applications for this, certainly for job interviews and for preparation for media interviews. If we really can get this to the point where it analyzes not only your answers, but your style and your substance, your visuals, and it can do it so that you feel like you don't know what's coming and it's asking you intelligent questions, that's going to be extraordinarily valuable. Am I going to be the first person to bring this to market or to make the most money? I'm not promising that. All I can tell you is I'm here in the trenches trying to learn this, trying to figure it out, and I appreciate you joining me. By the way, if you're watching this on demand, feel free to leave a comment. I do read comments, and feel free to join us. I'm typically live most days, Monday through Thursday, right here, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern time in the United States, where we have conversations about communication skills and using technology like digital cloning to help people communicate more effectively. So Paul says, wow, this looks very promising technology, great demonstration. Thank you, Paul. I mean, again, this is not something rehearsed in advance. I'm doing this in real time. I'm testing this with you. Hakeem says, this is very interesting and I'm learning a lot. Well, thanks for stopping by, Hakeem. I do appreciate it. We have Ben in the green room. Ben, hope everything is going well. And Naveen, again, Naveen, if you have a question, any one of you watching this, if you want to come on live and talk to me or the clone, feel free to do so. Happy to have you participate in this. I do want to switch. We've had a number of questions people have written to me in the last couple of weeks, and I've been negligent in not getting them answered as quickly. So I want to shift gears a minute. This next question relates to one of my personal development courses. It goes slightly outside of what I normally talk about. And I will caution you, you may find some of this, it's nothing obscene or anything, but it's maybe not exactly what you want to hear right before you're going to lunch. But I'm going to put forth a question that was posed by a student, and we will just ask it right away. I won't mention the last name, I'll protect anonymity, but I will pose this question. This is to my personal development clone.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you improve your personal development skills?
So TJ, Ron has a question. He wants to know about any helpful technologies to improve digestion, to avoid loose stool, and escape almost perpetual fight or flight syndrome ad infinitum. Any thoughts you have on that?
Improving digestion and managing stress are crucial for overall well-being. For digestion, consider using a food diary app to track what you eat and how it affects your digestion. This can help identify any triggers for loose stools. Additionally, probiotics can be beneficial. There are many high-quality probiotic supplements available that can help balance your gut flora. To manage the fight or flight response, biofeedback devices can be incredibly helpful. These devices teach you how to control physiological functions such as heart rate and muscle tension, which can reduce stress. Apps like Headspace or Calm offer guided meditations that can help you manage stress and anxiety. Ron, what specific changes are you willing to try first to improve your digestion and reduce stress? Additionally, incorporating regular physical activity can help improve digestion and reduce stress. Activities like yoga or Tai Chi are particularly effective because they combine movement with deep breathing and mindfulness, which can help calm the nervous system. Ron, what specific changes are you willing to try first to improve your digestion and reduce stress? Once you decide, let's discuss how you can implement these changes effectively.
Okay, so that one raises concerns for me because it's one of the rare times I've heard my clone actually give advice that I don't agree with. Some of that advice was perfectly fine and perfectly good. You have stress, try a meditation app. There's nothing wrong with that. But recommending probiotic supplements is not something I do. I happen to be a big believer that most supplements have no conclusive medical evidence that they work, including vitamins. Am I a medical doctor? No. Am I telling you to take my medical advice? No. I mean, I would have liked the clone to say right up front, if you're having specific medical problems involving stool and bowel movements, please consult a doctor. I think that would have been a safer, better answer. So I didn't like that. I find that there's more scams, more anti-science nonsense in the promotion of supplements than almost it's anything. And here in the United States, it's wildly unregulated. And there are all sorts of negative health consequences of people who are taking so many supplements where there's no evidence it actually helps. So, what I tend to believe is when I look at the widest range of reputable scientific experts from major medical schools, Harvard Medical School, Stanford Medical School, the consensus does seem to be eat real food, real unprocessed vegetables, fruit, meat that's been unprocessed, eat a lot of salad, don't put lots of sugar in your diet, processed food, artificial sugars in your. If you do that, it's going to help with the issues this gentleman talked about, but also you're not going to need vitamins and supplements because by and large, those are not actually absorbed by the body. And they can, in fact, cause real damage to liver, kidneys, and other things. But again, I'm not a medical expert, but I'm a little concerned that my clone. So that's one where I can go in and critique the answer and tell it not to say that in the future. So that's a part of my own homework that I've got to do. So it just occurred to me, let's do this in real time. What I'm going to do now is go to my clone and I am going to ask the CEO of Delphi this question about why my answers didn't seem to change in length. So let's ask him, his clone.
Hey, it's Dara's clone. What's up?
Hi, Dara. I'm doing a live test today with my own community, and they are absolutely loving my clone. Question for you. I have changed the response length, and I did have it on the longest response length for my answers of 600 words. I then changed it to the shortest recommended length, which was 146 words. And I noticed in each time when I asked my clone questions, it gave answers about 2 minutes long. So my question is there a lag time between me changing the settings for response length and saving it of 24 hours or something like that? Because it did not in any way correspond. The length of my answers from my audio clone did not correspond to what I put for the response length in the settings of my clone. Please help me understand this.
Hey, that's awesome to hear your community is loving the clone. About the response length, there shouldn't be a lag time like 24 hours. The changes should take effect pretty much immediately. If your clone's responses aren't matching the length you set, it might be worth double checking the settings to make sure they saved correctly. Also, try refreshing the page or restarting the session. If the issue persists, it could be a bug, and you might want to reach out to our support team at support@delphi.ai. How's the rest of the test going?
Okay. So it may be that I was still in the same session. and that if I had refreshed the session, it would have shortened the answer. I guess the part of the problem is I'm having trouble actually getting long answers because it does give an option of 600 words, and I'm not hearing answers that seem to be more than about 300 words. And this has been for numerous tests, numerous sessions. It just seems like it's not really giving me answers longer than about 2 minutes or 300 words. Is there something else I need to do if I really do want it to give longer answers?
Got it. If you're still not getting those longer answers, even after refreshing, it might be worth tweaking the creativity setting. Sometimes a higher creativity level can help generate more detailed responses. Also, make sure your clone's training data is rich with longer form content. If it's still not working, definitely reach out to support at delphi.ai. They can dive deeper into the issue. How's your community reacting to the clone overall?
Overall, they love it. But the creativity, right now I have my creativity setting on a 1, on I guess a 1 to 10 scale. But here's my concern. If I make the creativity up, it might say things I don't actually believe or haven't said. And for example, even with the creativity of setting on 1, my clone just recommended probiotic supplements to a user. And that is something I'm absolutely certain I have never recommended a probiotic supplement to anyone. For one thing, I don't even know what it is. So how did that happen? And how can I make sure that if I loosen the creativity, I don't lose control of my messages?
I get your concern. Even with a low creativity setting, sometimes the clone might try to fill in gaps with what it thinks is relevant. To keep it from saying things you don't believe or haven't said, you can do a couple of things. First, make sure your clone readiness score is high. This ensures the clone has a solid understanding of your views. Second, you can manually correct any responses you don't like by using the improve response feature. This will help the clone learn and avoid similar mistakes in the future. How's the engagement with your community going otherwise?
It's been pretty good. And it does raise an interesting question about this readiness score, because my readiness score is 99%. The other day, it went down to 91%, and it said in a couple of categories, I was at 65%, which seemed very low. I wrote to your team about this. Nobody ever wrote back. And then the very next day, the readiness score was back to 99%. So I'm a bit confused about how it could be dipping up and down between 99% to 91%. I'd also like to know, what do I got to do to make it 100%?
All right, I get why that would be confusing. The readiness score can fluctuate based on the data and interactions your clone is processing. If it dipped to 91%, it might have been recalibrating based on new inputs or some temporary data inconsistency. To hit that 100%, make sure your clone has a diverse and comprehensive set of training data. You can add more documents, use the question and answer feature to fill gaps, and keep refining responses. If you still see weird dips, definitely follow up with support at delphi.ai. How's your community finding the clone's engagement overall?
Pretty good, Dara. Thanks so much. We appreciate your clone's time, even though it doesn't take you any time, and we'll be back soon. Okay, so those of you just joining us, that was me chatting with the digital clone of the CEO of delphi.ai. And that is the program that I am using to make my own digital clone. So let's take his advice. I'm going to make the settings a little longer, the creativity score. That allows it to pull from, I guess, more general data sources to sort of fill in some of the gaps if a question comes up. We're going to go back to the live, the length. I'm going to try to make the length to 600 words per answer. And let's do a test right now to see if we can get longer answers. I've had a number of other questions come in from students, and let's see if we can answer some of those. Here's one about salary negotiation. So I want to see if we can, A, get good advice, obviously, but B, can we make this a long answer? So we're going to go to our communication skills clone. Again, I have 5 different versions of my clone that each are designed to lead people down a slightly different path. They also say different things at the beginning. They're all pulling from the same large data source of 11 million words that have either come out of my mouth or come out of my fingertips typing. So it's pulling from the same data source. So I'm going to ask the clone a question. I want to see if we're getting a longer. Oh, I'm going to start a new session. That's what I'm going to do. And that
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you communicate more effectively?
TJ, LaShonda has a question about how do you address salary negotiations after a year of employment? So it's not the first job interview. It's not a place you've been 10 years, but LaShonda has been working at a place for 1 full year. She would like a raise. She would like to renegotiate her salary. And this is always a touchy situation with people. Sometimes you're afraid you ask for too much, they could fire you, or they could create bad ill will. But if you don't ask for anything, you might not get anything. So I want to know absolutely every piece of advice you have. Please speak as long as you can to give us as many insights as possible about how someone can negotiate a higher salary after they've been working in a place, an organization for a year, and they feel like they've been doing a good job.
LaShonda, you've been at your job for a year and you feel you've been doing a good job. That's fantastic. Now it's time to take control of your career and ask for that raise. Here's how you can do it effectively. First, gather evidence of your accomplishments over the past year. Document specific examples where you've added value to the company. Did you complete projects ahead of schedule? Did you save the company money or bring in new clients? Quantify your achievements as much as possible. Numbers speak volumes. Next, research the market rate for your position. Look at what others in similar roles within your industry and geographic area are earning. Websites like Glassdoor and PayScale can be helpful. Look at what others in similar roles within your industry and geographic area are earning. Websites like Glassdoor and PayScale can be helpful. This will give you a benchmark to ensure your request is reasonable and competitive. Once you have your data, schedule a meeting with your boss. Timing is crucial. Choose a moment when your boss is not stressed or preoccupied. Ideally, this should be a time when you've recently completed a significant project or achieved a notable success. During the meeting, start by expressing your appreciation for the opportunities you've had over the past year. Highlight what you enjoy about working at the company and your commitment to its success. This sets a positive tone and shows that you're not just thinking about yourself, but also about the company's well-being. Then present your case. Use the evidence you've gathered to demonstrate your contributions and the value you've added. Be specific and concise. For example, over the past year, I've successfully managed 3 major projects, each coming in under budget and ahead of schedule, saving the company approximately $50,000. After laying out your achievements, state your request clearly and confidently. For instance, based on my contributions and the market rate for my position, I believe a 10% increase in my salary is appropriate. Be prepared for some negotiation. Your boss might not agree to your initial request, but having a specific number gives you a starting point. If your boss is hesitant or says they can't meet your request, be ready to discuss other forms of compensation. This could include additional vacation days, a flexible work schedule, or professional development opportunities. Sometimes these benefits can be just as valuable as a salary increase. Finally, be prepared for any outcome. If your boss agrees to your request, fantastic.
Okay, so that was longer. That was almost 3 minutes long. So we were able to get a longer answer. So at least our experimentation on that aspect was a success. What did you think of the answer? Now, I'm going to confess something right now. I walked down the hall, did a little errand, went and got more water. So I didn't hear it all, but the part I did hear, I did like. I did think it was good advice. I think it was solid advice. I certainly recognized a number of the examples because it pulled a lot of that information from a course I have, I think, on how to negotiate a pay raise. I believe I've made 200 courses, so I don't always remember everything, every title of every course I've made. But it sounded like good information. It sounded longer. And overall, I was pretty pleased with that. And could I have done as well if I had just turned the camera on and started talking? I think I could talk for 3 minutes on that. But I was very happy with that. I'd like to know your opinion. Let's deal with some other questions that have come up. This one is coming from Lucchini, who wants to know, since everyone has access to the main job search platforms like LinkedIn and others, what advice would you give people who are looking for a job to stay ahead of the competition? Now, I do believe I answered this last week with me speaking, but let's see how the AI does it. If it gives a good one, and if it gives one that's sort of up to date, because I know I gave a lot of specific examples for this one. Let's give it a call and find out what it says. By the way, if you have questions, feel free to type them into the comments section.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you communicate more effectively?
DJ, a question from Laquina, who wants to know, since everyone has access to the main job search platforms like LinkedIn and others like that, what advice would you give to people who are looking for a job to stay ahead of the competition?
To stay ahead of the competition in today's job market, you need to go beyond just having a presence on platforms like LinkedIn. It's about building genuine relationships and showcasing your unique value. First, engage actively in industry-specific groups and forums. Share your insights, comment on posts, and connect with thought leaders. This positions you as an active participant in your field, not just a job seeker. Next, create content that highlights your expertise. Write articles, make videos, or start a blog. When potential employers see your name associated with valuable content, it sets you apart from others who only have a static profile. Also, don't underestimate the power of networking. Reach out to people in your industry for informational interviews. Reach out to people in your industry for informational interviews. This not only helps you gain insights, but also builds connections that can lead to job opportunities. Personalize your outreach and show genuine interest in their work. Finally, tailor your resume and cover letter for each application. Highlight specific achievements and skills that match the job description. This shows employers that you've done your homework and are truly interested in the position. Try these strategies and let me know how they work for you. What specific communication skill would you like to improve next? Let's work on it together.
Okay, so that was a pretty good answer. I definitely didn't hear anything I thought was bad information or something I wouldn't say. Pretty good. I'll give it a solid B+ for that. What do you think? If you're watching this on demand, thank you. We're trying to figure out how these digital clones work. This is a relatively new thing. This is a baby, essentially. It's about a month old, a clone of my ideas. Everything I've ever said in any online course, any YouTube video, any book, it's all been sucked up into a database, and now it's churning around and spinning around and comes back out when we ask it a question. That's obviously not exactly how a computer scientist or programmer would describe it, but that's essentially what is happening, at least in metaphorical terms. So we're testing it right now to see, is it giving good information? Can it actually be useful to people? We did a test earlier today where it did a simulated media interview, a tough media interview. I thought it did a pretty good job, and it adopted the persona of a tough investigative journalist asking questions in a tough way. So I was pleased with that. We need to do more simulations to help people with job interviews. I think that's going to be a hugely important one. Let's go to another question. This question, and I may have messed up my notes. This may be another one from LaShonda, who wants to know, or here's the question: how can public speaking help me venture into remote world and monetize it? I don't know exactly if I'm getting the exact precise nuances of the question, but that will be a good test. I want to see, how does my clone interpret that, because the wording of that question is a little bit nebulous and ambiguous. So I want to see how my clone answers it. If someone asked me that, I would say, well, if by remote world you mean that, and I would go in one way, but I would have to take that phrase and rewrite it and define it on my terms before I could answer it. So it's a way I want to test the clone to see what it's going to do in this situation. Let's test.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you communicate more effectively?
TJ, LaShonda wants to know the answer to the following question: how can public speaking help me venture into remote world and monetize it?
Public speaking can be a powerful tool to venture into the remote world and monetize your expertise. When you master public speaking, you can create engaging online courses, host webinars, and deliver virtual keynotes that reach a global audience. This allows you to share your knowledge and skills with people everywhere, breaking free from geographical limitations. By presenting yourself confidently and clearly, you build trust and authority in your field. This trust translates into opportunities for monetization, such as selling online courses, offering consulting services, or even securing sponsorships for your virtual events. The key is to consistently deliver value and connect with your audience on an emotional level. To get started, focus on creating high-quality content that addresses the needs and interests of your target audience. Use platforms like YouTube, LinkedIn, and your own website to distribute your content. Engage with your audience through live Q&A sessions and encourage feedback to refine your presentations. One simple tip to try immediately: record a short video on a topic you're passionate about and share it on social media. Pay attention to the feedback and engagement you receive. This will help you understand what resonates with your audience and how you can improve. What specific topic or expertise do you want to share with the world? Let's work on crafting a compelling message for that.
Okay, I got to tell you, I thought that was a pretty good answer, because what my clone did was it just instantly interpreted remote world to the digital world or the online world. I mean, my first thought is, are you talking about going to places in South America where there's no internet? That's kind of remote. So I went in one direction. Then I was thinking of, okay, remote live by Zoom. And I think my clone actually was smarter in that case and just interpreted it as to how do you make money in the online world if you're a speaker? And then it gave all the different ways. So in that case, I got to say the clone did better than my initial gut reaction. So I got to give credit to that. Now, that was not a particularly long answer. That was about a minute. That was about 90-second answer. But I felt like it covered a lot. What did you think? I'd like to know. Let's go to the next question. This is it's perfectly fine question, but it's not one. Well, I take that back. It does relate to one of my courses on organization. Again, as a human being, I'm fallible. Everyone's fallible. Everyone's memory is fallible. You talk to any psychologist or medical doctor, researcher who deals with human memory, they would say basically all human memories are horrible. And we are constantly processing, rewriting, editing our human memories all the time. And it doesn't matter how sharp you are, how young you are, how intelligent you think you are, human beings misremember things. I have a family member, not in my immediate family, who tells the story about how he always talks about how he was on vacation and broke his arm, and it was a big injury. And then he tells that around family, like, well, that wasn't you, that was your brother. And look, here's the scar. And everyone's validating it. And he realized he had misremembered it, but it was such a vivid memory for him. Now, I say that as context in that I have ingested 200 of my online courses into my digital clone here. So it's going to remember things that I don't remember. And not because I don't think I have a uniquely bad memory. I've shown no signs of dementia or Alzheimer's, and I hope I don't, at least not for a very long time, although it can happen to people in my age. But this can pull anything that was said once in an online course. So that's why I want to see what it pulls up for this next question. So let's ask this question. This one comes from Frederick.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you communicate more effectively?
You know what? I'm going to ask this from a different clone. That was my communication skills clone. I'm going to go to the personal development one because I have personal development courses on how to be better organized and how to declutter. So let's see if it answers any differently.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you improve your personal development skills?
Hi, TJ. Frederick wants to know, how does one organize their research notes? If someone is working on multiple projects, organizing their notes can get hectic. What advice do you have on organizing research notes?
Organizing research notes, especially when juggling multiple projects, can indeed be a challenge. Here's a strategy that can help you stay on top of everything. First, create a dedicated digital folder for each project. Within each folder, use subfolders to categorize your notes by topic, date, or any other relevant criteria. This way, you can quickly locate specific information when you need it. Next, use a note-taking app that allows you to tag and search your notes easily. Apps like Evernote or OneNote are excellent for this purpose. Tagging your notes with keywords related to the project or specific topics will make retrieval much faster and more efficient. Additionally, consider maintaining a master document or spreadsheet where you summarize. Consider maintaining a master document or spreadsheet where you summarize key points from each note. This document can serve as a quick reference guide, helping you see the big picture without diving into individual notes every time. Finally, make it a habit to review and update your notes regularly. Set aside time each week to organize new notes and ensure everything is in its proper place. This consistent practice will prevent your notes from becoming overwhelming and keep you focused on your projects. Try implementing one of these tips today and let me know how it goes. What specific challenges are you facing with your current note organization system?
TJ, that was pretty good advice. Give me a more advanced tip now.
For a more advanced tip, consider integrating a mind mapping technique into your note organization system. Mind maps allow you to visually structure your information, making it easier to see connections between different pieces of data. Start by placing your main project topic in the center of a page, then branch out with subtopics and related notes. This method not only helps in organizing, but also in brainstorming and seeing the bigger picture. Additionally, use color coding to differentiate between various projects or themes within a project. This visual cue can significantly speed up your ability to locate and recall information. For instance, use blue for research notes, green for actionable items, and red for critical deadlines. Finally, leverage digital tools that support mind mapping and color coding, such as MindMeister or XMind. These tools can help you create dynamic and interactive maps that are easy to update.
Wait a second. I've never heard you talk about mind mapping before. That's not really your idea, is it? Who is the creator of mind mapping? Are you guilty of taking credit for someone else's intellectual property?
Mind mapping is indeed not my original idea. The concept of mind mapping was popularized by Tony Buzan, a British author and educational consultant. He developed this technique to help people organize their thoughts and improve their memory and creativity. I always strive to give credit where it's due, and use the best tools and techniques available to help you achieve your goals. My focus is on providing you with practical strategies that can enhance your personal development and communication skills. What other techniques or tools are you curious about that could help you in your project?
Okay. It did jump out as interesting to me that it would mention mind mapping, because perhaps I've talked about it answering someone's question, but it is not my idea. And I don't think it's a bad idea. I personally don't find it particularly more useful than other ways of drawing out ideas or getting a magic marker and a poster board or anything else. So, and I don't like to take credit for someone else's idea or use it without giving credit. So I may go in and make an edit there so that it gives more credit. Okay. I want to make sure, let's see if did I miss any questions here? Akeem says, very interesting, learning a lot. Akeem, if you're still with us, let us know what you've learned. I would be interested in that. Meanwhile, we're going to go to the next question. This one from Khaled, who writes in, this one is a communication one. So we're going to go back to the communication clone. Again, I've got 5 different clones. They all have the same master database input, but they've been designed to ask questions and to follow up and to lead people down a different path based on the goal. This one focused on helping people with communication goals. So we're going to call and ask Khaled's question directly.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you communicate more effectively?
Khaled would like to know the following about communication. I understand that being a good communicator requires having good confidence, which I lack the most. So how can I boost my confidence? Thank you so much. Please give me every possible beginner, intermediate, and advanced tip you have on how to be a more confident speaker, a more confident communicator, and a more confident person.
Howard, boosting your confidence as a communicator is a journey, and it's one you can absolutely conquer. Let's break it down into actionable steps for beginners, intermediates, and advanced levels. For beginners, start by telling yourself, I am capable of communication. I am good at communicating. This isn't just about faking it till you make it. It's about building muscle memory. Take every opportunity to speak up, whether it's asking a question in a classroom or starting a conversation in a lunchroom. Each small step builds your confidence. As you move to an intermediate level, focus on your body language and voice. Practice speaking with more energy, as if you're talking.
Apologies. I think I hit the wrong button. I was trying to change the screen, and I think I disconnected the share. So you may have all of a sudden heard nothing there. So apologies. I have to share my screen again to bring back our clone. It in that case, that was not the computer error. That was not the TJ clone error. That was the TJ error. That was my blunder in that case. So apologies for that. We'll bring the clone back. And I thought I was hearing some good advice. Confidence is one of these issues that I find is a big one. It comes back again and again and again. I've got about 2 million online students, and probably 1.5 million are in one of my communication skills classes. And I would say this is probably one of the top 3 questions people ask. Questions like, how do I not be nervous before a speech or during a speech? How can I improve my English is one. And also, how can I be more confident? So this is a big, big topic. Let's do it again. And I'm going to change the question slightly and ask it to give only really advanced tips. And this time I won't be rude to the clone and cut it off prematurely. And I got to catch myself. There is a danger of anthropomorphizing digital clones. And there are a lot of people, I think, very legitimately concerned that there are companies out there that will prey upon individuals who are perhaps shut-ins, lonely, get them to form personal relationships with their clone to the point of giving them all their money and increasingly paying higher and higher subscription rates, and to the point where they're bankrupt. A totally legitimate issue. And listen to me now. I do not want to bankrupt you. If you find some use to any of my clones and go for some version that you pay for it, I hope that works for you. But don't give me every last dollar. Don't empty your bank account for my clone or any other clone. So with that caveat, let's try it again.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you communicate more effectively?
TJ, I want to have the longest possible answer you can give me that really goes into tremendous depth on how to be more confident as a speaker, communicator, presenter. And I want really advanced tips. I want to hear tips that I haven't read in other books or heard from other experts on YouTube. I want the absolute best and unique tips, tricks, strategies from you based on your own experience helping people become more confident speakers.
To become a truly confident speaker, communicator, and presenter, you need to dive deep into the nuances of your delivery, mindset, and preparation. Let's explore some advanced strategies that go beyond the usual advice. First, embrace the power of visualization. This isn't just about picturing yourself on stage. It's about creating a vivid, multi-sensory experience in your mind. Imagine the feel of the microphone in your hand, the warmth of the lights, the expressions on your audience. Engage all your senses to create a mental rehearsal that feels as real as possible. This technique primes your brain for success and reduces anxiety. Next, focus on your breathing. Advanced speakers use diaphragmatic breathing to control their voice. Next, focus on your breathing. Advanced speakers use diaphragmatic breathing to control their voice and maintain calm. Practice deep breathing exercises daily. Inhale deeply through your nose, allowing your abdomen to expand, then exhale slowly through your mouth. This not only helps with voice projection, but also keeps you grounded and reduces nervousness. Another advanced technique is to master the art of the pause. Pausing strategically can emphasize key points, give your audience time to absorb information, and make you appear more confident. Practice speaking with deliberate pauses. Record yourself and listen to where natural pauses can enhance your message. Engage in deliberate practice. This means practicing with a specific goal in mind, such as improving your vocal variety or body language. Break down your practice sessions into focus segments. For example, spend one session solely on hand gestures, another on vocal tone, and another on eye contact. This targeted approach leads to faster improvement. Feedback is crucial. Seek out a mentor or join a speaking group where you can get constructive criticism. But don't just rely on others. Become your own critic. Record your speeches and presentations, then watch them critically. Look for areas of improvement and celebrate your strengths. Develop a pre-speaking ritual. This could be a series of physical and mental exercises that prepare you for speaking. Some speakers do vocal warm-ups, while others might meditate or do power poses. Find what works for you and make it a consistent part of your routine. Understand the psychology of your audience. Advanced speakers know how to read their audience and adjust their delivery accordingly. Pay attention to nonverbal cues like body language and facial expressions. If you notice your audience is disengaged, switch up your approach. Ask questions, tell a story, or use humor. Understand the psychology of your audience. Advanced speakers know how to read their audience and adjust their delivery accordingly. Pay attention to nonverbal cues like body language and facial expressions. If you notice your audience is disengaged, switch up your approach. Ask questions, tell a story, or use humor to re-engage them. Another unique tip is to develop a signature style. This could be a particular way you start your presentations, a unique storytelling technique, or a specific type of humor. Your signature style sets you apart and makes you memorable. It also gives you a sense of ownership and confidence in your delivery. Incorporate storytelling into your presentations. Stories are powerful tools for connecting with your audience on an emotional level. They make your message more relatable and memorable. Practice crafting compelling stories that illustrate your key points. Use vivid details and emotional language to draw your audience in. Work on your body language. Your body language can convey confidence even if you're feeling nervous. Stand tall, make eye contact, and use open gestures. Avoid crossing your arms or fidgeting, as these can make you appear closed off or anxious. Practice in front of a mirror or record yourself to see how you come across. Finally, embrace the power of authenticity. Audiences can sense when you're being genuine. Share personal anecdotes, admit your mistakes, and show vulnerability. This makes you more relatable and builds trust with your audience. Authenticity is a powerful confidence booster because it allows you to be yourself without trying to fit into a mold. To put these tips into practice, I suggest starting with a short presentation on a topic you're passionate about. Record yourself and then review the recording with a focus on one specific area, such as body language or vocal variety. Make notes on what you did well and areas for improvement, then practice again with those notes in mind. This iterative process of practice, feedback, and refinement is key to becoming a more confident and effective speaker. Remember, confidence as a speaker comes from preparation, practice, and a deep understanding of both your material and your audience. By incorporating these advanced techniques into your routine, you'll not only improve your speaking skills, but also build the confidence to deliver your message with impact. What specific area of your speaking do you want to focus on first? Let's work on that together.
Okay, now that was interesting at several levels. One thing that jumped out is it repeated a whole sentence. And that did sound a little jarring. It did make it seem like, oh, I'm talking to a computer here. People don't repeat a sentence with the same tone, the same verb, it's the same wording, word for word, the way that clone did. So it does, in fairness to it, it doesn't do it very often, but that's not the first time I've heard that. So I obviously didn't like that. If you heard anything else you liked or didn't like, let me know. Now, the other surprising thing is finally I did get a long answer. Now, you can argue that that was too long. I can ratchet it back. What I'm trying to do is to figure out, can I control the length of answers? That one, the total sequence was 6 minutes and 8 seconds. You can see it right there at the bottom underneath, above the call again. It has the length. About 30 seconds was me asking the question, but still, that was a good 5.5 minute long answer. To me, that was the first time I actually heard it give the length that I had established on the setting, because I put up to 600 words. And I think that I did speak about 600 words there in the response, the clone. So it's interesting. And I don't know if there's a lag. We had just asked the CEO of Delphi, his clone, is there a lag? He suggested no, but this is the first one that gave a long answer. Now, in my prompt to the clone, I said, give me as long of an answer as possible. I've done that before and it still gave me 2-minute answers. So I'm not quite sure why there is that disconnect. We're going to try another question now. And this one, I will not try to lead through the prompt, giving it a long answer. So I want to test to see how long will the answer be. And this one coming from Arun about how a person can earn more through public relations if market or business experience is zero. Well, I'll just read the question live to the clone, see how it answers. And I want to hear the quality of the answer. I also want to hear the length of the answer. I also want to hear the freshness, because the public relations world is something I've talked about in some courses, some of them 10 years old. But I also periodically talk about new aspects of what's going on in the PR world. I'm testing this to make sure the information I give isn't too dated or out of touch. So let's listen through the lens of all those variables.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you communicate more effectively?
DJ, Arun has a question about how can a person earn more money working in public relations if their experience in the marketplace is zero. So someone wants to go into the public relations field, but they don't have a lot of experience. They have not been active in the market. They don't have their own clients. They haven't worked for a PR firm. What's really the best way they can start their career in public relations, make money in the short term, but in the long term, position themselves to make the most money in the public relations arena?
To start a career in public relations with zero experience, the key is to build your credibility and network from the ground up. Here's a practical approach. First, immerse yourself in the PR world by volunteering for local events, trade associations, or nonprofits. This will help you build relationships and gain hands-on experience. Show up consistently, be reliable, and make meaningful connections. When people see your dedication, they'll be more likely to refer you for paid opportunities. Next, position yourself as high-end and high quality from day one. This doesn't mean spending a lot of money, but rather how you present yourself. Create a professional online presence with a polished website and active social media profiles. Share insightful content about PR and your journey in the field. This will help you stand out and attract potential clients or employers. Additionally, consider taking on small freelance projects or internships, even if they are unpaid initially. This will allow you to build a portfolio and gain testimonials. As you gain experience, you can start charging for your services and gradually increase your rates. Networking is crucial. Attend industry events, join PR groups on LinkedIn, and connect with professionals in the field. Building relationships can lead to job opportunities and client referrals. Finally, always be learning. Stay updated with the latest PR trends, tools, and techniques. This will not only improve your skills, but also show potential clients and employers that you are committed to your professional growth. What specific area of public relations are you most interested in, and how do you plan to start building your network? Let's discuss a strategy tailored to your interests.
Okay. So pretty good advice there. I do note that the length was 2 minutes and 38 seconds. And so it was substantially shorter than the previous one, which went over 5 minutes long, because the previous one I gave a prompt and I said, give me the absolute longest answer you can. I'm not saying 2 minutes is worse than 5 minutes. What I am trying to figure out is how I can adjust and control the length of the answer. Now, recently, I did err on the side of making the answers shorter. I want it to seem more interactive. What I'm trying to do with this whole clone thing is make things not seem like an online course, not seem like an online lecture. What I really want it to feel like is you talking one-on-one to a coach, where you can ask a question, they can answer, and give you advice. You can say, here's what I want to accomplish. They can give you a specific lesson, a specific activity, a specific demonstration, a specific simulation to work you through it. Because I've been grappling with for a while, what do we really call this thing? I don't want it to be just another application of an online course. So it's not just a teacher, it's not just a trainer, it's not just a tutor, although tutor is pretty close to this, because you think of a great tutor, one-on-one, you're able to ask questions, answer. Your tutor can really make sure, okay, TJ, you're understanding addition now. Now we can go to subtraction. That's better than if you're in a class with 30 other kids and the teacher sees, okay, 20 of them understand addition. Now we're going to go to subtraction, because if you don't understand it, it can be awkward raising your hand. So wait a minute, I don't understand addition. I don't want to go to subtraction yet. When you're with a tutor, everything can be designed for that one person. That is the beauty, the potential of these digital clones. And I'm trying to figure out, how do we really make that work? in a way that's somehow going to be meaningful to people. So I've been grappling myself with, what do we call this? Is it a tutor? Is it a trainer? Historically, I've used this tool or this term trainer because people have hired me most often for a day. I come in, I'm helping them with one specific skill, how to give a speech more effectively, a presentation, a PowerPoint, or how to prepare for a media interview. We go through a set series of exercises. There's a curriculum. They're trained. They leave at the end of the day. They've seen themselves demonstrating expertise in a specific skill. So taking to the analogy of sports, you could hire a trainer, and I know very little about football, but you could hire a trainer just to train you how to be a better field goal kicker, presumably. And you could go to a 2-day boot camp or a 1-week camp in summer, kicking camp, presumably. That's different from a coach who's with you in coaching on practice every day for the whole season. A coach is there for practice. A coach is there before the game. A coach is there during timeouts. A coach is there coaching you at halftime. A coach is there giving you advice through timeouts in the second half or the fourth quarter, whatever sport you're in. And a coach is there to go over the tape of last week's game Monday at practice. So a coach is this ongoing relationship. It's not necessarily one-on-one, although a lot of coaches, especially smaller teams, it is one-on-one. Or if it's for an individual sport like golf, it is one-on-one. So that's why I've kind of fallen to this label of the ultimate potential of this thing, the digital clone, is to be more like a coach rather than what I've done as a trainer. Because as a trainer, I'm basically there and gone. It's more like a one-day stand in the training world. Coaching is ongoing. It's about continual growth. When a coach is hired to coach a Major League Baseball team or basketball team or soccer team, typically it's with the idea, okay, we want you for the next 5 years to take this team and mold it on a journey to get better and better and win more games and win more championships and recruit better players. It's a constant, continual goal of growth and improvement and victories. It's not about we're hiring you to win this one game. So coaches are therefore seen as much more valuable. I don't know about you. I don't know of any tutors who are taught or who are paid $10 million a year. There are coaches in the professional coaching world and college coaching world who are paid $5, $10 million, $15 million a year. I'm not suggesting that pay is the measure of someone's career, but it is one indicator of how society values that service. So if you're looking at a brand new service from scratch, trying to figure out how do we position this to make it perceived as more valuable, I think it's one way of trying to assess value, because we could look at the metaphor of teacher, trainer, content creator, speaker. There's a lot of different labels you can wear when it comes to taking some area of expertise you have and helping other people. A lot of, there's the doctor model, the consultant model, mastermind level. There's a lot of different ways. And I've been thinking about this a lot the last couple of years, trying to really think about how should I position this so that it is meaningful to people. And I haven't figured out something that's better than calling it a coach, a digital coach, a digital coaching experience, and an artificial intelligence clone coaching experience. So that's what I've come up with. You know what? Let's ask our clone and see if it has any thoughts on this.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you communicate more effectively?
So TJ, I have a new digital clone, as you know, and I'm trying to figure out how should I position this in the minds of the public? Because I could call my clone an online tutor, an online teacher, an online trainer, an online instructor, an artificial intelligence online thought leader, an artificial intelligence mastermind leader. There's a lot of different labels. I have sort of concluded that coach was the term that was sort of most versatile, most meaningful to people. But I want to hear your perceptions of how you could be presented to the world, a digital clone presented to the world in a way that is understandable to people and perceived as being highly valuable.
Positioning your digital clone as a coach is indeed a powerful choice. The term coach resonates deeply because it implies a personalized, interactive, and supportive role. People understand that a coach is there to guide them, provide feedback, and help them achieve their goals. This aligns perfectly with the value your clone can offer. Imagine introducing your clone as the ultimate communication coach powered by cutting-edge AI. This not only highlights the advanced technology behind it, but also emphasizes its role in transforming people's communication skills. You could say, experience the gold standard in communication training with our AI coach, designed to empower you with unparalleled expertise. By framing it this way, you tap into the inherent trust and value people place on the concept of coaching. It suggests a relationship where the clone is actively involved in the user's development, offering tailored advice and strategies. To further enhance this positioning, you could incorporate sound bites that emphasize the unique benefits of your digital clone. For example, 1. Transform your communication skills with the market's top AI coach. 2. Experience personalized coaching anytime, anywhere. 3. Unlock your potential with our AI-powered communication expert. 4. Achieve your goals with the guidance of an AI communication coach. 5. Empower your speaking abilities with cutting-edge AI technology. 6. Your journey to communication excellence starts with our AI coach. 7. Master the art of speaking with the best in the business. 8. Revolutionize your interactions with our AI communication coach. 9. The gold standard in communication training, now in AI form. 10. Elevate your communication skills with unparalleled AI coaching. These sound bites are designed to be catchy and emphasize the uniqueness and superiority of your digital clone. They highlight the transformative potential and the personalized, interactive nature of the coaching experience. What specific communication skills or areas do you want your digital clone to focus on when coaching users? This will help tailor the messaging even further.
Well, it's really about helping them excel and improve at any aspect of communication they want to improve in. Shifting gears, TJ, you do bring up a good point. So I have to give a speech at a business conference in a month. And I can really talk about anything I want that relates to professionals and communicators, speakers. I think I want to give a keynote speech on the topic of how digital clones are the absolute greatest invention, perhaps in the history of the world, for communicators. And if you're an author, expert, consultant, coach, teacher, instructor, this is a golden era and you better hop in now. So I would like for you to do a first draft of this speech for me. I want it to be in the style of a TED Talk. I don't want to seem overly self-promotional, but I want to occasionally mention how I've built my own TJ Walker clone, to help people with communication skills. But I want to talk even more broadly about why this is potentially so transformational for society and how it's going to have an impact on the lives of CEOs and authors and experts and consultants and thought leaders and startup founders and really anyone and everyone who wants to communicate or has to communicate, and how it's fundamentally different from communicating in a one to many style, the way a YouTube video is or a an online course is. I really want to get people to think about, wow, this has such potential to scale one-on-one conversations, one-on-one style coaching, tutoring with people anywhere in the world. So I'd like for you right now to give me, if not 15 minutes, as long as possible, a draft of a TED Talk that I could deliver on this topic. Please start now.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we stand on the precipice of a communication revolution. Imagine a world where every author, expert, consultant, coach, teacher, and instructor can extend their reach infinitely, engaging in one-on-one conversations with people across the globe. Anytime, anywhere. This isn't science fiction. This is the reality of digital clones. Digital clones are not just another technological advancement. They are the greatest invention in the history of communication. They have the potential to transform how we interact, learn, and grow. For professionals, communicators, and speakers, this is a golden era. If you haven't embraced this technology yet, now is the time. Consider the traditional methods of communication. YouTube videos consider the traditional methods of communication. YouTube videos, online courses, and webinars. These are all fantastic tools, but they are fundamentally one too many. They lack the personal touch, the interactive engagement that makes one-on-one coaching so powerful. Digital clones change that dynamic entirely. They bring the intimacy and effectiveness of one-on-one coaching to a global scale. Imagine being an author who can have a personal conversation with every single reader, answering their questions, providing insights, and deepening their understanding of your work. Picture a consultant who can offer tailored advice to clients around the world simultaneously. Envision a teacher who can provide individualized feedback to each student, no matter where they are. This is the power of digital clones. Now, let me share a personal example. I have built my own TJ Walker clone to help people with communication skills. This clone is not just a repository of my knowledge. It is an interactive coach that can engage with users, provide feedback, and help them improve their communication skills in real time. It's like having me as your personal coach, available 24/7. But the impact of digital clones goes beyond individual professionals. It has the potential to transform entire industries. CEOs can use clones to communicate more effectively with their teams, investors, and customers. Thought leaders can scale their influence, reaching more people with their ideas and insights. Startup founders can provide personalized guidance to their teams, fostering innovation and growth. The beauty of digital clones is that they are fundamentally different from traditional communication tools. They offer a level of personalization and interactivity that is unparalleled. They can adapt to the needs of each user, providing tailored advice and feedback. This is not a one-size-fits-all approach. It is a bespoke solution for each individual. Think about the possibilities. A digital clone can provide redundancy where needed, ensuring that no one misses out on crucial information. It can offer explanations in multiple ways until the user fully grasps the concept. This level of personalized learning and interaction is something that traditional methods simply cannot match. Moreover, digital clones can operate in any language, breaking down barriers and making knowledge accessible to everyone, regardless of their linguistic background. This democratization of knowledge is truly revolutionary. In conclusion, digital clones are not just a technological novelty. They are a transformative force in the world of communication. They empower professionals to extend their reach, provide personalized guidance, and engage with their audience in ways that were previously unimaginable. This is the future of communication, and it is here now. Embrace it, and you will unlock a world of possibilities. Thank you. What specific aspect of digital cloning excites you the most?
Well,
And how do
TJ,
you
this all
envision it
sounds it
transforming your
all
own
sounds
communication?
interesting, but isn't there a chance that people just see this as sort of a fun little gimmick and oh, that's cool, that's interesting, and no one really uses it for 10 years? What's going to jumpstart the need for this? Because there's always a time with a lot of technologies where it seems neat and cool, but nobody can figure out how to make money on it. And in the short term, it could put out of business or maybe make a lot of traditional trainers, experts, consultants lose their livelihood. Couldn't it? Couldn't it be a bad thing for a lot of people?
The potential for digital clones to be dismissed as a gimmick is real, but I believe the key to avoiding that fate lies in demonstrating their tangible benefits and practical applications. Think about the rapid adoption of technologies like smartphones and social media. Initially, they were seen as novelties, but their utility quickly became apparent, transforming industries and daily life. What will jumpstart the need for digital clones is their ability to solve real problems and create new opportunities. For instance, imagine a consultant who can provide personalized advice to multiple clients simultaneously, or a teacher who can offer individualized feedback to students around the world. These are not just theoretical benefits. They are practical solutions that can enhance productivity and learning. Regarding the concern about the potential negative impact on traditional trainers and consultants, it's important to recognize that every technological advancement brings change. The key is to adapt and leverage these tools to enhance one's offerings. Digital clones can complement human expertise, allowing professionals to scale their services and reach a broader audience. For example, I used to work primarily with wealthy clients and large corporations. Now, with digital clones, I can help millions of people around the globe who would otherwise never afford my expertise. This technology democratizes access to high-quality training and coaching, making it more inclusive and impactful. To ensure digital clones are seen as valuable tools rather than gimmicks, we need to focus on their practical applications and the real-world problems they solve. By doing so, we can demonstrate their transformative potential and encourage widespread adoption. What specific communication skill would you like to practice
Well,
or
but
improve
TJ,
with the
hang on.
help of a digital clone?
Isn't there
Let's
a danger of there being a sort of a winner take all here? What if Google says, or OpenAI says, okay, we've created a master clone to help anybody with anything, and we're going to make it free because we want to be able to get your data and sell your data. Isn't there a chance that some really deep pocketed company could create a master coaching clone to coach people on anything, to be better than anything I could create or anyone else, and essentially put everybody who's a subject matter expert out of business?
The concern about a winner take all scenario is valid, but let's dive deeper. Even if a giant like Google or OpenAI creates a master coaching clone, the unique value you bring as an individual expert can't be replicated. Think about it. People don't just seek information, they seek connection, authenticity, and a personal touch. Your unique experiences, insights, and personality are irreplaceable. Moreover, the market for personalized coaching and expertise is vast. There's room for multiple players, each offering something distinct. Your digital clone can provide a tailored niche experience that a generic master clone can't match. It's about leveraging your unique strengths and creating a brand that resonates with your audience. Remember, technology is a tool. It's how you use it that makes the difference. By integrating your personal touch, your unique insights, and your specific expertise, you can create a digital clone that stands out. It's not just about the breadth of knowledge, but the depth of connection and the quality of interaction. To ensure your digital clone remains relevant and valuable, focus on continuous improvement and adaptation. Keep updating it with your latest insights, experiences,
Hey,
and feedback from
clone,
users. This way, your clone evolves and stays ahead of
clone,
generic solutions.
TJ, John Steen has a question for you. He says, is the clone ducking the question about replacing people? You say I have unique experiences, but can't a clone just hear my experiences, capture it, and then use those stories when coaching people in a digital format?
John, I understand your concern. The idea that a clone could simply capture and reuse experiences might seem like it diminishes the value of human expertise. However, the true power of a digital clone lies in its ability to synthesize and adapt information in real time, providing personalized and contextually relevant guidance. Think of it this way. A clone isn't just parroting back stories. It's integrating a vast array of knowledge, experiences, and insights to offer tailored advice that feels authentic and engaging. This level of personalization and interactivity is something that static content or even a generic AI can't match. Moreover, the human touch, the nuances, the empathy, the unique perspective remains irreplaceable. A clone can, moreover, the human touch, the nuances, the empathy, the unique perspective remains irreplaceable. A clone can enhance and extend your reach, but it can't replace the genuine connection and authenticity that only you can provide. The key is to see digital clones as powerful tools that complement.
I hope that you are correct. I will point out another advantage to clones that is, I don't think is on anyone's top 10 list, but I just discovered it a moment ago. Which is I went off screen a minute because I had a string coming out of my shirt. So I took myself off camera. I allowed you to talk and I cut, and it's hard for you to see, but there's a string now that I have here and I cut it off. It was sticking out of my collar and I was able to take a moment to look down, cut off the string while you continue to chat. So I do appreciate that. Let's follow up with John. Let's say, for example, John is a massage therapist. TJ, knowing what you know about modern communication, use of social media, use of creating content to build a following, what advice would you have to John Steen about how to market his business as a massage therapist? How would you recommend he use social media? How would you recommend he come up with a frequency, blogging, podcasting, doing long form, short form? Give me every bit of advice you have for John on how he can communicate effectively to the marketplace about his skills as a massage therapist.
John, as a massage therapist, your goal is to build trust and showcase your expertise. Social media is a powerful tool for this. Start by creating content that educates and engages your audience. Share tips on relaxation techniques, the benefits of massage therapy, and behind the scenes looks at your practice. Use platforms like Instagram and Facebook to post short, engaging videos and photos. Consistency is key, so aim to post at least 3 times a week. Consider starting a blog where you can dive deeper into topics related to massage therapy. Write about common issues your clients face and how massage can help. This positions you as an expert in your field. Podcasts are another great way to reach your audience. You can discuss topics related to wellness, interview other health professionals, and share client success stories. Aim for a new episode every 2 weeks to keep your audience engaged. For long-form content, consider creating YouTube videos. These can be tutorials, client testimonials, or even live Q&A sessions. This helps build a deeper connection with your audience. Short-form content like Instagram Reels or TikTok videos can showcase quick tips, client transformations, or even a day in the life of a massage therapist. These platforms are great for reaching a younger audience and driving engagement. Engage with your audience by responding to comments, asking questions, and encouraging them to share their experiences. This builds a community around your brand. Lastly, don't forget to leverage email marketing. Send out a monthly newsletter with updates, special offers, and valuable content. This keeps your clients informed and engaged. John, your unique touch and expertise are what will set you apart. Embrace these tools and you'll see your business grow. What is your ultimate goal as a communicator, and how would you like me to help you get there?
Okay, we're going to sign off from the clone right there. John Steen, thank you for stopping by. I hope that was helpful. Now, my clones are not designed to do complex, comprehensive marketing plans, but it is a part of what I teach people in my How to Be a Freelancer course. So it's pulling from that. And if you're thinking, well, you're talking about, I can't write it all down. I will say with my clone and pretty much any clone on a lot of different platforms, you can get everything in a text version. I'm using the voice component because I teach people how to speak. And that's what people get nervous with. So I hit a little phone button and I hear it. But any question I've asked today or any question you have for my clones, you can just type in the question, or you can dictate the question, which turns it into text, and it gives you a text-based answer. So it is a fascinating journey we're on here. It's hard to open up any newspaper or go to any online website and not be inundated with stories about artificial intelligence and the latest from OpenAI and the latest version of ChatGPT. I'm not an expert on all of them, but I am trying to figure out how can I get ahead of the wave, or at least be a part of the wave as it's transforming the industry of people who communicate, subject matter experts, authors, trainers, coaches. So that's what we're focusing on right here. If you're watching this on demand, thank you. Please post a question, post a comment. Please watch the videos on a regular basis. Every day we do a couple of short form videos, a long form video, and 4 days a week live right here. Thanks so much. I'll see you live here tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss that great interview with Bob Berkowitz, the renowned TV journalist, the first ever White House correspondent for CNN, former FNN primetime host, former Good Morning America correspondent. You're going to really love that interview. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks so much. See you later.